the situation is not very easy and it's not quiet. It's very alarming. A lot of people are suffering from this night attack. And we need to understand that everybody pray and to try to find a solution, how to prevent escalation and how to find a solution to stop this escalation from all different sides. And from this case, I think it's very, very important just to have a global world opinion from different countries, from different political leaders and social leaders to find a solution how to stop this escalation and potential arising of the third global war. And for this, we need to find a solution. And one of these solutions, it could be immediately, definitely, a special session of the United Nations Council. And also it could be a special summit where could play a role different leaders of the countries like India, Russian Emirates, and Arabic countries, together with Israel and Iran, just to find a solution, what they need to do. And it's a very important question, what is just in our agenda, daily agenda. Yes, to talk about...
Okay, Arjun Hardas, you know, one way is, as Mr. Perelman is suggesting, that the United Nations should come in, there should be a peace summit or you know, some international effort. I believe the easiest way would be perhaps, Mr. Hardas, to just pull back. Iran says its military objectives are achieved. They don't want to do anything else. Concluded, the mission is concluded. Israel can claim that they defeated 100% or neutralized 100% of if not 100%, maybe 90% of the missiles and projectiles that were coming its way. Minimal is damage, no loss of life. So obviously, both sides can make their own takeaways and pull back, and there would be no escalation, hence no war.
No, that is true. You're right. That's the most ideal solution. But you've got to understand also the dynamics that are at work. One of the biggest facts, see, Israel's entire history has been that it works on a principle of deterrence. That deterrence took a bad hit on the 7th of October last year. Okay, now this time, this is the first time that Iran has actually directly struck Israel directly from its own territory. This hasn't happened before. Now, it's not a question of how much effect that happened. Had it not, if the defenses hadn't worked, there would have been massive damage. Let's be clear about that. And this is not because there was some plan that the Iranians will not target certain things. They let go of their artillery, of their weapon systems, of their UAVs, their drones, their missiles. They had ballistic missiles. They were not just drones and things like that. Now, all this requires some kind of a response. I am not saying that it has to be necessarily a military response, which means sending the Israeli Air Force into Iran and all that. This is not attacking Damascus or something like that. This is not the same thing. Iran is a very different kettle of fish. Israelis understand these things. What kind of a retaliation will there be? And it has to be done because remember, in the last night there were a number of Arab countries, including Jordan, for example, which actually participated in the shooting down of many of these missiles, of these projectiles. Now they expect that there has to be something. They have taken the side. They've openly taken the side of Israel, the Arab countries. And yet, if there is no retaliation and if they're left open for anything that the Iranians can take the revenge on or whatever like that, there will be a problem. So there has to be something that Israel has to do. What it does, whether it doesn't have to be, like I said, a weapon or something like that. It can be, let's say, electromagnetic bomb, that blows off there, shuts off everything electronic. It can be something like that. It can be a known kind of a thing. But there has to be something that Israel has to do. Otherwise, there is a serious problem of the loss of deterrence. So there has to be something. Yes, what you have said earlier is that there was no damage, but it was thanks to the Iranians that there was no damage. That's because of the Israeli defense systems ranging from the...
No, it was of course no thanks to Iranians. It was obviously because the Israelis have fantastic air defense and it works so well that the Iranians couldn't cause any damage. But General Bakshi, sir, you think if Israel decides that the optics are bad and that they should be seen to be responding, and so they respond, are we risking riding up the escalatory ladder then? General Bakshi, sir.
Precisely. You see, the simple fact is that there has been a paradigm shift last night in the situation in the Middle East. So far, Iran was acting only through its proxies. The three H's, Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Shia militia in Iraq and Syria. But the fact is that now Iran, despite all the deterrence that was done by the United States, all the warning given not to retaliate in a proportionate manner, Iran has ignored all those and it has struck back in a very significant way. 331 drones and cruise and tactical ballistic missiles, 185 drones, 36 cruise missiles, 110 tactical ballistic missiles, 331. Now they have struck the most formidable air defense available anywhere in the world, which is in Israel proper. Israel has three layers of air defenses. They have the green pine, the green arrow, green pine kind of anti-missile defenses, the Patriots, the David Sling, and the very famous world over known now Iron Dome for the tactical last-ditch defense. In addition, the United States had deployed its naval assets, its naval satellites, its satellites in the space to help Israel with the sensors part of it and also the shooters part of it. American fighters, United Kingdom and France fighters, they were swarmed to shoot down the drones. Now how successful has this military strike been? In purely military terms, I am not getting into the morality plays. In purely military terms, when we were watching the video screens last night, we counted 7 impacts, 7 separate impacts, and these were biggish impacts. So I don't think it was the drones, these were the cruise / tactical ballistic missile, 7 hits out of 331. In terms of success percentage, that comes to 2.1%. And in terms of the effectiveness of the defenses, 97% effective. 97% destruction of incoming drones come missiles.
Right, sir.
But despite that, what the Iranians are claiming is that we hit the Navatani air base, the Ramon air base from which the Israeli fighters had taken off to hit their embassy in Syria. So they say revenge achieved. But the situation is dangerous. Further escalation could spin out of control. There could be accidents.
Right, sir.
And a very serious situation could develop.
Okay, let me take this to Major Gaurav Arya because he takes a rather militaristic position on this. Major, should we have a war or not have a war? Because if Israel wants to achieve its 100% objectives, then obviously it has to choose an open war with Iran and vice versa. Obviously, that's not in the best interest of all the global trade, peace in the world. So, is that an objective or not? Accordingly, we decide whether we should go the escalatory ladder or escalatory path or not.
Abhishek, first of all, thank you for inviting me to your show. I think Israel has no option but to hit back. How it hit backs, when it hit backs, where it hit backs is up to Israel. Time and place of its choosing, but Israel must hit back. That's number one. Number two, Iran has been playing this game for a very long time. And all these troubles with Hamas and Hezbollah are essentially sponsored by Iran. As I mentioned in your show today afternoon, the reason why Israel hit that embassy compound in Damascus was simply because Israel was trying to hit the head of the snake. One of the senior generals who was killed in that airstrike, he was member of the Shura Council of the Hezbollah. So, you see, what Iran does is directly control, directly fund, directly train, and directly direct these terror outfits. Now, for the first time, yes, there will be escalation if Israel hits back. But this is exactly what Iran wants, in the sense that the world will say, don't respond, there will be an escalation. Here is my 2 bits or my 2 cents of wisdom, if I may. So what if there is an escalation? So what? That is what kinetic conflicts are for. If there is an escalation, there is an escalation. So, what would you have Israel do? If Israel does not respond, Iran has already crossed that thin red line. Iran will do this again and again. And there will be a time, if you send in enough missiles, God forbid one day, the David sling will fail. The arrow missiles will fail. You said it's going to happen. That is what happened on the 7th of October, in a sense. They sent so many missiles, thousands upon thousands, some got through. Right? And this is exactly what Iran, unless you go and hit mainland Iran, unless Israeli fighters, you have the F-35s. F-35 has a negligible radar signature. Iranians do not have any kind of radar that can figure out that an F-35 is coming. Go and bomb them right there.
Okay, Mr. Perelman, you think that's a sentiment there on the ground in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem that maybe we need to hit back Iran in its homeland, on its territory?
I have a vision that somebody need to make the first step and to stop escalation. If Israel will answer on this missile attack, so it will be next round for escalation. And this will grow without limits. And we need to understand that Iran is not just a single country. It's in some military friendship coalition. And it's necessary to prevent and to stop this action. And one side need to take a smart position and to say, stop this. We need to start to talk. Stop fighting and start to talking. So I think it's the main position what we can do. To start to talk, it's not very easy. It's also important to have a support of a friendly countries or independent countries to make a coalition between different military blocs. But I'm on a position that we need to find a solution how to make peace and to stop escalation.
All right, so a little contradicting position there between Jerusalem, where Mr. Perelman is, or Tel Aviv, and our in-house strategic affairs expert, Major Gaurav Arya. But General G.D. Bakshi, let me get the final word from you before I wrap up the conversation. A quick word from you, sir, on whether, given the fact that Israel also has ended up exposing its defense mechanism to Iran and its proxies by getting its Aero 1, 2, 3, etc. defense system, air defense system, and other mechanisms by which it takes care of its space. Is it the right time to really go the escalatory matrix, or should Israel wait, if at all it has to respond? Because the Americans have made it clear, General Bakshi sir, that they are not going to stand with Israel in terms of providing any military support if it chooses escalation.
You know, are the Americans going to let this escalate out of control? I think they would be very much interested in keeping things, stamping things down. You see, because I have mentioned they have a strategic objective. They do not want to give a window of opportunity to China to launch an amphibious assault on Taiwan, because they find America heavily preoccupied. And in case Iran, there is a war starts with Iran, then the American forces would be digressed. Instead of pivoting to Asia, they would be stuck halfway somewhere in the Middle East. So I don't think the Americans are very keen. And talking purely from the point of view of self-interest, you know, Iran may lose the war. It cannot win the war against United States and Israel put together, you know. But the simple fact is, it is 3,000 arsenal of 3,000 missiles, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, medium-range ballistic missiles. It can cause havoc in the Middle East. It can hit Israel very hard. It can hit the oil fields. It can close the Straits of Hormuz. The price of oil is almost $90 a barrel. We will be hit. India will be hit in case the world economy takes a hit because of skyrocketing oil prices. The United States is facing an election. So therefore, if the price of oil is already $90 a barrel, and you wait for a few days more and see the way it skyrockets, then it doesn't help anyone. I think the whole world will take an economic hit. All the growth that we are talking of will go up in smoke. So in purely self-interest terms, I'd like to see it, now wind down, now tempers cool, because otherwise there is no end to it. There is no end to it.
All right, there is no end to it. Hopefully better sense would prevail. Wise counsel from wherever it comes would be listened to by both the sides. On that note, thank you so much, General Bakshi, Major Gaurav Arya, Mr. Perelman in Israel, and of course Arjun Hardas for joining us. A short break, live and breaking is on the other side.
In just a decade, India has transformed into a digital powerhouse. From classrooms to clinics, farms to finance, digitalization is revolutionizing every aspect of life. To celebrate the makers and shakers behind Digital India and India's phenomenal digital yatra, Republic Business is delighted to bring its inaugural Republic Business Emerging Tech Awards.
As the political scenario evolves ahead of the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, Katchatheevu prepares for another fiery contest. Katchatheevu constituency holds strategic importance in the social, economic and geopolitical landscape of the region. This time, the Congress has nominated Joy Ram Englang, a prominent local figure, as the candidate for the upcoming elections. In contrast, the Bharatiya Janata Party has nominated Amar Singh as its candidate for the Katchatheevu Lok Sabha constituency. Katchatheevu in Assam is one of the largest constituency in terms of geographical area, encompassing 8.90 lakh voters. The constituency has undergone significant transformation in the last 5 years. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
Good evening and welcome, viewers. The BJP says that the fact that the bombers behind the Bengaluru blast in the Rameshwaram cafe were the fact that they were found in Bengal today proves that Bengal under Mamata Banerjee is a safe haven for terrorists. Big charge to make, and that might not be entirely correct. But will Mamata Banerjee be bold enough to accept that Islamist terrorism is a threat to the entire world and to India? Would secularities like Mamata Banerjee and the Vadra Congress
In just a decade, India has transformed into a digital powerhouse. From classrooms to clinics, farms to finance, digitalization is revolutionizing every aspect of life. To celebrate the makers and shakers behind Digital India and India's phenomenal digital yatra, Republic Business is delighted to bring its inaugural Republic Business Emerging Tech Awards.
The city of Nizams is excited to witness one of the biggest political clashes. It's BJP versus AIMIM in Hyderabad. BJP's Madhvi Lata, a BJP debutant, is up against AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi, a four-time MP. The battle this time is that of ideologies. A prominent Hindutva figure, she has actively campaigned against regressive practices such as triple talaq and fought for the rights of Muslim women. This is something that Owaisi has time and again challenged. When the triple talaq was scrapped in 2019, Owaisi opposed the centre's move. That is not all. Owaisi also questioned the Citizenship Amendment Act.
बीजेपी ने CAA का अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल कानून बनाया और रिलीजन की बुनियाद पर बनाया गया है जो राइट टू इक्वालिटी के खिलाफ है।
A very good evening to all our viewers. Thank you for tuning into Republic TV. I'm Deepak Suresh Kumar. Lots lined up in this bulletin, from BJP's poll manifesto to the Mandi battle and Prime Minister's scathing attack on the opposition. This bulletin is action-packed with all the election-related stories that you can't miss. But first, let's take a look at the headlines. Big pro-people promises in BJP's manifesto: free electricity, continuation of free ration scheme for the poor. BJP hails Modi ki guarantee manifesto. Yogi Adityanath says PM Modi's vision is our vision. Aam Aadmi Party's Atishi says BJP's manifesto is nothing but a jumla. Kharge says all the promises are just lies. Congress candidate from Mandi, Vikramaditya Singh, hits out at BJP's Kangana, says she's levelling allegations without doing her homework. Manipur Chief Minister N. Biren Singh speaks exclusively to Republic TV, praises PM Modi and HM Shah's initiatives. Top focus of our evening is that after resting the mounting anticipation and the speculation, the BJP has finally unveiled its roadmap for India's future. The BJP's manifesto for the 2024 general elections is finally out, and listing out party's promises and priorities for the country's development. The Sankalp Patra presents copies to representatives from groups dubbed Garib, Yuva, Annadata and also Nari Shakti, beneficiaries of the government schemes as well. However, the opposition has rubbished BJP's claims of involving all sections of the society and lashed out at the Saffron Party. Let's dive into the details of the manifesto and then listen in to the opposition's attack on the BJP.
The BJP has announced its poll manifesto for 2024, titled Modi's Guarantee, Developed India 2047. The manifesto centers on the theme of cultural nationalism. The manifesto has different guarantees aimed at addressing needs of specific sections of the society. Prime Minister Modi presented copies to representatives from these groups: Garib, Yuva, Annadata and Nari Shakti, who will be the beneficiaries of government schemes.
मोदी जी ने आने वाले 1000 वर्ष में क्या कहाँ जाना भारत, ऐसा दिशा रख करके आज का संकल्प पत्र में बोला है। उस संकल्प पत्र के वजह से भारत आत्मनिर्भर होगा। भारत में गरीबी लोग हैं ना, उसको गरीबी दूर होगा और उसके साथ साथ भारत विश्वगुरु होगा। ये कांग्रेस मतलब करप्शन मीन्स कांग्रेस है। करप्शन को बढ़वा करने के लिए कांग्रेस ही है, पहले भी ऐसा किया है। ख़त्म करने के लिए भाजपा है। इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी और एक्सटर्नल सिक्योरिटी, भारत का सभी देशवासी कहाँ रहना, उसके मन में मोदी जी है ऐसा भाव है। हम सुरक्षित है मोदी जी के वजह से, ऐसा भाव है। उसके लिए रशिया और यूक्रेन वार में फंसे हुए 23,000 भारतीय नौजवानों को सुरक्षित रूप में वापस लाया। ऐसा सुरक्षित भाव मोदी जी के वजह से है।
The release of the manifesto coincides with Baba Saheb Ambedkar Jayanti. The manifesto integrates feedback from over 1.5 million suggestions nationwide and outlines initiatives such as One Nation, One Poll, common electoral rules, 5G expansion, and global Ramayan festival. For the poor, the manifesto guarantees free ration for the next 5 years, continuation of free and quality healthcare, expanding PM Awas Yojana, Har Ghar Nal Se Jal, clean cooking fuel, and zero electricity bills. Let's now take a look at what the manifesto lists under its Nari Shakti segment. The manifesto aims at creating 3 crore Lakhpati Didis, integrating women SHGs in service sector, enhancing market access for women SHG enterprises, facilitating women's participation in the workforce, increasing women's participation in sports, constructing, maintaining public toilets, implementing Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam, expanding Shakti desks, ensuring women's health and well-being, and strengthening emergency helpline 112. Another major promise is to implement laws to prevent paper leaks and ensuring transparency in public exams. The Modi plan for empowering the youth includes Mera Yuva Bharat scheme for nation building, expanding startup ecosystem through increased funding, among many other things. The manifesto aims at making agricultural remunerative, ensuring access to robust agriculture infrastructure, providing easy accessibility of agricultural inputs. However, the opposition has slammed the manifesto, rubbishing the BJP's claims of including all sections.
कुछ नहीं, केवल इधर उधर की बातें। तो हमारा मानना है कि उसमें बताइए बिहार के लिए क्या है? ना बिहार को स्पेशल राज्य का दर्जा देने का जिक्र किया गया, कैसे हम बिहार को आगे बढ़ाएंगे और गरीब प्रदेश जैसे बिहार के हैं उनको कैसे बढ़ाएंगे, किसान युवा के लिए क्या करेंगे, इसका कोई जिक्र नहीं किया गया। ना महंगाई कैसे खत्म करेंगे।
Unfortunately, BJP thinks that people are food. They are befueling the people. No people have realized. BJP has no policy and plan. They are only for the people of higher class, that is Adani, Ambani and other people. Nobody thinks for the poor. Nobody thinks for the common people.
With less than 5 days to go for the first phase of the Lok Sabha polls, can the India Alliance even stand toe-to-toe with the BJP's mega poll push? Bureau Report, Republic TV.
हम एक संकल्प पत्र लाया है। ये संकल्प बोले तो बिल्कुल हम संकल्प लेंगे। आने वाले 5 साल में जो संकल्प लिया है इसको इम्प्लीमेंट करने के लिए पूरे प्रयास करेंगे, क्योंकि हम 370 हटाएंगे बोले के संकल्प पत्र में बताए, हम हटाए। त्रिपुल तलाक हटाएंगे बोले, त्रिपुल तलाक हटाया। देश में अयोध्या में राम मंदिर बनाएंगे संकल्प लिया है, ये भी फुलफिल किया है। ऐसी वुमेन रिजर्वेशन का भी संकल्प पत्र में बताए, वो भी वुमेन रिजर्वेशन बिल है। क्योंकि मैं ये बताना चाहता हूँ, जो भी भारतीय जनता पार्टी बोलते हैं वो करते हैं। हम जो गारंटी देते हैं वो गारंटी को फुलफिल करने का गारंटी है हमारा संकल्प पत्र। इसलिए आज जो भी गरीब के हित में हो, जो आने वाला 5 साल में हमारा 4 इश्यूज 4 सेक्शन पर 4 सेक्टर पर काम करने वाले हमारा पूरा संकल्प पत्र रहेगा। एक देश विकास के रास्ते पे जाते हुए, दुनिया में भारत को एक शक्तिशाली भारत बनाते हुए, देश में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, इंडस्ट्रीज, एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेशन बढ़ाते हुए, ये 4 सेक्टर पर हम ध्यान दे रहे। संकल्प पत्र जिस दिन घोषणा किया है डॉक्टर बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर का जन्मतिथि पर, इस संकल्प पत्र को हम देश के जनता के सामने रखे हैं। बिल्कुल हम कमिटमेंट के साथ काम करते हैं। दूसरा पार्टी के जैसा आप कांग्रेस पार्टी अलग अलग असरेंस दिया है। अब तेलंगाना में देखिए 6 assurance गारंटी दिया है, इसमें एक्सेप्ट बस से छोड़ के दूसरा कुछ नहीं किया है।
लेगेसी ऑफ लास्ट 10 years एंड विजन ऑफ नेक्स्ट 25 years। और जब हम बात करते हैं लेगेसी ऑफ लास्ट 10 years जो मोदी जी का कार्यकाल रहा, तो उसके प्रमुख बिंदु क्या हैं? स्ट्रांग लीडरशिप हेडेड बाय प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी, स्ट्रांग ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल स्ट्रक्चर इंक्लूडिंग दी संगठन एंड अ स्ट्रांग विल पावर। जो करने की निष्ठा ठानी मोदी जी ने वही कहा और करके दिखाया। संकल्प से सिद्धि का एक बेहतरीन उदाहरण जो शायद दूसरे राजनीतिक दलों और दूसरी सरकारों में नहीं था। और अगले 10 वर्ष, अगले 25 वर्ष, जबकि भारत उस शिखर पटल पर पहुंच करके विश्व बंधु कहलाएगा, विश्व बंधु बन करके सारे दुनिया के बाकी देशों के लिए भी एक एसेट बनेगा। 2047 में जब आज़ाद हिंदुस्तान अपनी 100वीं सालगिरह बनाएगा, उसके लिए हमारा क्या कल्पना पत्र रहेगा, उसकी विजन। और उसमें विशेषकर समाज के 10 वर्गों की खास उल्लेख किया गया, उनको प्राथमिकता दी गई। एक तो जिसे मोदी जी कहते हैं 4 जातियां, उसमें गरीब, किसान, महिलाएं, युवा। गरीब के साथ साथ वो लोग जो अभी गरीबी की रेखा से निकल करके मध्यम वर्ग में आए, यानी नियो मिडिल क्लास, उसको भी ध्यान में रखा गया। एल्डर सिटीजन्स, क्योंकि बहुत बड़ी संख्या में आज देश में एल्डर सिटीजन्स की जनसंख्या तादाद बढ़ती जा रही है, वो हमारे लिए एक एसेट भी है, एक डेमोक्रेसी का एक इम्पॉर्टेंट हिस्सा भी है। 7वां श्रमिक, और श्रमिक विशेषकर टैक्सी चलाने वाले, ऑटो चलाने वाले, बहनें जो घरों में काम करती हैं, डोमेस्टिक हेल्प, कभी किसी सरकार ने किसी मैनिफेस्टो में इनका जिक्र नहीं किया। इसी प्रकार विश्वकर्मा, वो लोग जो अपने रिवायती कामकाज से अपनी जीविका भी कमाते हैं, इस मुल्क की तहजीब को भी जिंदा रखते हैं, उनकी बात। मछली पालन वाले, उनकी बात। वंचित वर्ग। तो मुझे लगता है कि एक ऐसा इंक्लूसिव बजट जिसने समाज के हर वर्ग की चिंता भी की और उस हर वर्ग को छूने की कोशिश की है, जिसको शायद पहली सरकारों की ओर से तवज्जो ना मिल पाई।
We are against one nation, one election. First, ensure that we are getting all the languages are respected, all the communities, all the religions are respected.
So you're saying it is an anti-South manifesto?
Definitely, it's anti-South, anti-Indian.
लोगों के मन में रोष है। इस देश में पिछले 10 वर्ष में चंद अमीर लोग बहुत अमीर हो गए हैं और जो गरीब लोग हैं वो बिल्कुल महंगाई के मार झेल रहे हैं। एमएसएमई सेक्टर बिल्कुल खत्म हो गया है।
देखिए, भाजपा का घोषणा पत्र वो झूठ का संकल्प पत्र है। जिस तरह से भाजपा ने 2014 में 19 में जनता से वादे किए थे, बहुत हुई महंगाई की मार। अब की बार भाजपा सरकार बेरोजगारी दूर करने के वादे, किसानों की आय दुगनी करने के वादे, उन सब वादों का, उन सब सपनों का क्या हुआ, भाजपा ने नहीं बताया।
We have all India, we have a mission to remove BJP. They may be having mission 50 to remove us in South India, but we have a mission to remove them throughout country.
देखिए, बीजेपी हमेशा मैनिफेस्टो जारी करती है। कभी तो कहती है करोड़ों नौकरियां देंगे, कभी 15 लाख खाते में देंगे, कभी कुछ देंगे, दिया कुछ भी नहीं। पेट्रोल डीजल जो 2014 के अंदर यूपीए की सरकार थी, प्रति बैरल अंतर्राष्ट्रीय बाजार में मतलब जो भाव थे उस समय, उसी से पेट्रोल डीजल की कीमतें तय होती है। उससे कम भाव आज के तारीख में, लेकिन पेट्रोल डीजल की कीमतें उन्होंने दुगनी कर दी।
देखिए, आज भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने घोषणा पत्र नहीं, जुमला पत्र पूरे देश को दिया है, क्योंकि 10 साल सरकार चलाने के बाद भी वो अपने एक भी वादे को पूरा नहीं कर पाए।
Well, viewers, will it be the Sankalp Patra, which is based on the 4 cornerstones of BJP's top leadership suggestions, which were made from the Manifesto panel by considering all the suggestions that were given from all sections of the society? Or will it be the Nyay Patra, which the BJP claims pushes India way back in time? Well, that's left for the electorate to decide, and we will know which manifesto will be picked by the people on June 4th. Stay tuned for the result day on Republic TV. But for now, it's time for a quick break. We'll be right back with more news and updates on the other side. Do stay tuned. Well, on the other side, the battle for Mandi heats up. War of words between Vikramaditya and Kangana Ranaut. Do stay tuned.
Good evening and welcome, viewers. The BJP says that the fact that the bombers behind the Bengaluru blast in the Rameshwaram cafe were the fact that they were found in Bengal today proves that Bengal under Mamata Banerjee is a safe haven for terrorists. Big charge to make, and that might not be entirely correct. But will Mamata Banerjee be bold enough to accept that Islamist terrorism is a threat to the entire world and to India? Would secularities like Mamata Banerjee and the Vadra Congress government in Karnataka both accept that it was a terrible mistake to downplay the Rameshwaram cafe blast as a result of a possible feud between business rivals, rather than what it was, a terrorist incident, a terrorist attack? Would Mamata Banerjee and secularities and pseudo-secularities like the Congress and all these other secularities in the India Alliance accept that they are uncomfortable even acknowledging radicalized Islamist terrorism as a reality because of their own vote bank reasons? And that this is the reason why terrorists feel more safe in some states of India today than in others. In some states, they know there is a bulldozer approach. I'm sure the bulldozer approach, and you know which states I'm talking about. I'm sure the bulldozer approach does not make terrorists feel very comfortable there, so that after carrying out a blast, that is the first state that they go to. Ladies and gentlemen, in an election season, the incidents of today and the fact that the Rameshwaram cafe bombers, the terrorists, have been found in Bengal has a direct bearing on a necessary national debate around issues of terrorism and the approach of political parties towards it.
The fight for Bengaluru rural is getting fierce. The constituency covers Kunigal, Rajarajeshwari Nagar,
political scenario evolves ahead of the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, Katchatheevu prepares for another fiery contest. Katchatheevu constituency holds strategic importance in the social, economic and geopolitical landscape of the region. This time, the Congress has nominated Joy Ram Englang, a prominent local figure, as the candidate for the upcoming elections. In contrast, the Bharatiya Janata Party has nominated Amar Singh as its candidate for the Katchatheevu Lok Sabha constituency. Katchatheevu in Assam is one of the largest constituency in terms of geographical area, encompassing 8.90 lakh voters. The constituency has undergone significant transformation in the last 5 years. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
Most popular cafes in Bengaluru on the 1st of March. India's top anti-terror agency, NIA, was roped in to lead the hunt for the terrorists who had orchestrated the attack. And now, within 45 days, the agency has busted the vicious ISIS terror nexus and the terrorist trio responsible for the devastation. Terrorist Musawir Hussain Shazib, who had placed the bomb at the cafe, and Abdul Mateen Taha, the mastermind of the blast, were arrested from Bengal. As per sources, the two men had been living in West Bengal for 3 weeks, checking into small hotels and living under aliases before the central agency zeroed in on them. The two arrested terrorists were produced at an NIA court which granted a 3-day transit remand, following which they were brought back to Bengaluru. Republic also managed to access CCTV footage from the hotels where the two accused were staying in. The two terrorists, who claimed they were from Maharashtra, had moved from hotel to hotel in different parts to avoid suspicion. They had also presented different fake Aadhaar cards at each hotel they were in. The two accused were brought to Bengaluru during the wee hours of Saturday morning and taken to the detention cell in Madiwala. Later on Saturday, the two terrorists were sent to St. John's Hospital for medical checkup and then produced before a magistrate.
The special court of the NIA's magistrate has now gone ahead and granted the National Investigation Agency a 10-day custody of both the accused, Abdul Mateen Taha as well as Muzaffar Shazib Hussain as well. And it is being understood that both the accused will be taken to the blast site as well, and a spot in
Mr. Jaishankar, thank you. I've really been looking forward to this, and great fan of your style, the way you speak, the way your forthright nature, and your vocabulary and your
coming
style.
From you, Arnab, that's a high compliment.
No, I want to get rid of the fanboy part first. But I must say that we've been following everything that you've done for the country, and I've looked forward to this interview. So thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Pleasure, good to be here.
Thank you, sir. So we are in the middle of a general election, and I want to address as many news points as possible in the course of this interview. Broad question, how comfortable are you in the middle of an election season? We've seen you going out a lot of late, speaking to people, select groups. You were there at the signing of papers of some of our
yes,
candidates of the BJP.
To, yes.
But are you really comfortable with politics, like rough and tumble of it?
I am. I think it's a transition. It's a journey. Now, 5 years is a long time. Okay, so if you'd asked me this question 2019, maybe 2020, but these 5 years have been very intense. In a way, COVID was a period of, and not just enormous responsibility, but a time when all of us as ministers went out among people, tried to actually motivate people, to support people. So I think what's happened in these 5 years, a combination of experiences, challenges, time, and frankly, the cabinet colleagues around me, from whom, often you learn by just working alongside. I think the combination of all of this, I think by now I've reached a reasonable level of comfort.
I'm sure with seasoned diplomat you manage the political issues well, but at the time of joining the BJP and later after that, was it ever a thought that joining politics is going to come in the way of your own views perhaps, because you're not a career politician? I mean, did you feel, you'll have to compromise or change your line on some issues, or come into agreement with something the BJP thinks for you personally may not be against, as a lateral entrant, and you're much more than a lateral entrant? Is that at the back of your mind somewhere?
No, I wouldn't say that, because, mine was a peculiar case. Okay? Yes. I became a minister when I was not a member of parliament.
Yeah.
And more important, when I was not a member of a political party. Okay. So on the day I was sworn in as a minister, I was not a member of the BJP. Okay. And I must say, it was not that anybody pressed me to become a member. They gave me my space, they gave me my time. So in fact, I think I had quite a few weeks to think it over. And for me, the occasion was I was preparing to file my own nomination papers to Rajya Sabha in Gujarat. I could have filed it as an independent.
Why didn't you?
Because I felt, one, comfortable in the BJP. I felt I'd had a chance to talk to, obviously not just Prime Minister but other colleagues as well. And I felt, if you are a part of a team, you need to be a full member, someone who's getting into it wholeheartedly. So I gave it. It's not that I didn't think about it. I reflected a lot, and frankly, it was one of those situations where I was debating with myself. I mean, it was not an issue I could share with anybody else. But I took a few weeks, and because I found that on a whole lot of issues, what the BJP felt, what the BJP was doing, was very much aligned with what would have been my own view, what was my own view. And some of it I also, I'm a political scientist by academic training. Diplomats anyway are very sort of avid observers of politics, including their own country's politics. So I was quite familiar with many aspects of the BJP's thinking. In our own history, BJP was a party which espoused exercising the nuclear option very, very clearly, very early on. BJP was a party which felt that on Pakistan, on terrorism, on POK, we should take a strong stand. BJP was a party which had a very clear view on Article 370, something which resonated with me for many, many years. I mean, well before it became an issue in 2019. Or BJP had a certain view on China. BJP had a view on the United States. BJP had a view on Israel. So look at it from my perspective. Someone coming in who looks at the political options out there. I mean, for me, the BJP positions on this set of issues very much tallied with my own thinking.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, that broadly you're in the same line, and I agree with your assessment that the center-right approach that the BJP has had on issues is more or less in line with your own worldview, and it comes across. Let me also say this, Mr. Jaishankar, anyone watching you closely sees that there's a fair level of authenticity with what you're speaking. It's not a put-on. But I'm looking at it from that perspective. The Katchatheevu issue will be seen to be one issue in which the politics got ahead of the foreign policy. So when the Prime Minister says that the previous government Congress government callously gave away Katchatheevu, and then the follow-up question to that will be that when the third term of the Modi government starts, are you not going to take that through as a follow-through action, or will you only say that they gave it away, but because it becomes obligatory then for you to reopen the dialogue on Katchatheevu with the Sri Lankan government, which will be a very tricky issue?
I think the point is something else. Here we have had for the last many decades challenges, problems faced by Indian fishermen. Okay? Now you had the DMK posing as the champion of Tamil fishermen, saying they are in difficulties today because the central government took decisions which has put them at a disadvantage or in difficulties. Okay? So a very clever political narrative has been constructed over many, many years, where the DMK is sort of fighting for the people who have a grievance, and it looks as though the center is the culpable party. Now, what the record actually showed was DMK was very much party to the decisions. Okay, and so considering how much of an issue they had made this, made it in parliament, made it a consultative committee, took it up in politics. You saw Annamalai's interview, how much Chief Minister was raising it. Chief Minister Stalin has himself written to me 21 times. 21 times raising issues of Tamil fishermen. So I think it was time that the public learnt, saying, okay, this we all recognize there's a problem. Now let's be honest. Who's responsible for it? Who was culpable? Who did it? And who went along with that?
Agreed.
And the real issue is, beginning from day one, they had mastered this practice of saying something in parliament and saying something.
That's the politicians are good at.
No. But this kind of politics should not be encouraged.
May I intervene?
Yeah, sure, please.
Sorry to interrupt. I saw the papers, and personally, I was appalled. I also saw the entire interaction that was going on. I don't know the exact date, between the then Foreign Secretary giving a briefing to Mr. Karunanidhi, I think it's 1974,
yes, correct,
on what happens, and he's laid it out, that this is the view of the central government, there could be Chinese influence, we need to have a good relationship, and hence we are taking this decision, to which Mr. Karunanidhi responds by saying that is there any other way, but finally gets convinced and then says effectively that I'll go along with you, but I'll have to take a slightly low-key angle on this or a different angle in local politics.
Because I have to help you manage it.
Because I have to help you manage it. So it's crazy that between the centre and the state, then DMK and Congress, they've come to an arrangement on the whole issue.
Look, Arnav. Okay, you can say that is politics. My point is, having done that, now you are posing before the public and before the rest of the country as though you have nothing to do with it. This is the core point.
I am again with it.
This is at a time when, after all, what is an election about? An election is about different political parties going to the people saying, look, this is what we believe, this is what we stand for, and we ask you for your trust and your support on that basis. So we think that is very important, that parties should come clean. If they don't come clean, history will come clean.
I am totally with you on this. Totally, and I agree with you on this. Now, the question I'm saying is that it's already, if anybody says it, it's already if Annamalai says it. The Prime Minister of India says it. A follow-up statement is made by the Foreign Minister of India. Then the Sri Lankan Foreign Ministry responds, saying this issue is resolved 50 years back. My specific question to you, sir, is can we now, we realize the issue of accountability, hypocrisy, giving it away, duplicity of DMK, Congress, etc. understood. Can it really be opened up now? Can the Modi 3.0 government reopen the dialogue on, can we make a claim on it? Would that not worsen our relationship? Where do we stand on that?
I think right now the important issue when people are going to polls is which party was honest, which party is not. Which party is responsible for the situation in which the fishermen are finding themselves, and which party, by the way, has been trying to help. I mean, because I've also seen in this 10 years, both as Foreign Secretary and as Minister, Prime Minister has himself repeatedly taken up the fishermen's issue with successive presidents and Prime Ministers of Sri Lanka. So right now, let's, not jump the gun. Right now, we are dealing with an issue.
Question number 2 is CA. And, I really felt very strongly about the way there were attempts to polarize the Muslim population or during the Shaheen Bagh event and, 2000, I think it was 2019-20 period, in the intervening winter. It was terrible. I mean, we took a very strong line on it as a channel. We, in fact, supported. But I am curious to know, I'm going back to Sri Lanka again, that during the Sri Lankan civil war, there were some 10,000 army troops. We sent our army there to help, solve the situation there. There are between anywhere 4 to 6% of Indian Tamils in Sri Lanka as per varied estimates. There is a population there. There is an agreement which has been signed between India and Sri Lanka. We have promised to repatriate Sri Lankans. A lot of it has not happened. Long and short, my question is that why would the CA really logically not apply to the Tamil population in Sri Lanka? Because you will say there's already a treaty for Tamil repatriation, but then the same applies for everyone who does not come under the persecuted minority category. In the case of Tamils in Sri Lanka, and that's a long question, but in the case of Tamils in Sri Lanka, the primary filter of persecution is established. And if CA is about persecution, then why do the Tamils of Sri Lanka not come under the ambit?
No, I think you are completely mixing up apples and oranges here. Look, the CAA is derived from a certain period and a certain set of decisions in our history, directly from the partition. It deals with the aftermath of the partition. Okay? What happened in the aftermath of the partition was that different post-partition states were left with
with minorities, and it was the obligation of the states to look after the minorities. Okay, and that was the basis for the Nehru-Liaquat Pact. When the Nehru-Liaquat Pact was being concluded, in fact, there were wiser voices, saner voices, which counseled, saying, look, you are trusting a Pakistani government which already has a certain mindset, a certain ideology, a certain attitude to behave like you are behaving. And they will not do that. Okay. And this is something which was very, very sharply, repeatedly, specifically, particularly Shama Prasad Mukherjee, I think, was a proponent of the view. But he is not the only one. A lot of others held that view. What we have seen after that has been actually a treatment of minorities which caused them to look for safety elsewhere. Now, in many cases, if you look at the minorities concerned, where else will they go but go to India? Okay. So, that was the logic of the CAA. The Sri Lankan situation is very different, because in the case of the Sri Lankan situation, the issue pertained to the what were called the Indian origin Tamils, and those were negotiated and settled through negotiations. So I think you cannot compare what was happening in Sri Lanka with what was happening with Pakistan. I think they are totally different situations. We are, through CAA, we are trying to do justice to a set of people who, in a sense, were caught on the wrong side of history, who are let down by the assumptions of the then rulers of India that they will be looked after in the place of domicile.
Could the same not apply to the Tamil Hindus, that they were left on the wrong side of history?
No, again, no. I think this analogy, I think, is not justified.
But is there also not an assumption here that India is the natural home for Hindus? That is the argument that the BJP puts when CA, okay, so Mr. Jaishankar, let me just give me a moment on this. The position technically as government and foreign policy is one thing, but the position politically is that India is the natural home for Hindus, and the BJP has made India the natural home for Hindus. Now, Maldives today, we all know the Islamist forces. I'm not talking Islamist politics which is going on there. It's a Muslim majority country with some 99.6% Muslims. But there is a 0.3%, 0.4% of Hindus. So if the question is that India is a natural home for Hindus, then should that lever not be open for us, that if Hindus were to be persecuted and the politics were to be sharper in Maldives, we should bring them back equally, allow me to complete. We do hear of persecution and torture of Tamil Hindus. This has been a persistent political issue, so why should they be excluded from the process? No. Why should partition define our present day politics?
No, look, partition does define our present day politics because it was such a fundamental, you can say, mistake, and whose consequences are still being felt today. So let us not wish away partition as just another event in our history. It has had consequences. Those consequences today still continue to shape the politics and the foreign policy and the strategy of the entire Indian subcontinent. So let's keep the centrality of partition very much in view. Again, I put it to you, I do not agree with the implicit suggestions that somewhere you are drawing an analogy between the situation in Pakistan and the situation in Sri Lanka. In the case of Sri Lanka, and on the contrary, it is our position that the Tamil minority in Sri Lanka should be assured a life of dignity, that they should be given equal rights. So on the contrary, it is not that we are encouraging Tamils in Sri Lanka to come to India. That has never been the policy, nor in my mind would that be the right policy. So I do not accept the framework in which you are asking that question.
Mr. Jaishankar, are we being pushed by the West? I mean, I want to come to this trend of late. And, I've been noting the events, this trend of late of the West really sharply, especially since January, February, and increasingly now with frequency. 27th March, the United States State Department made a very, very specific comment on the internal matters of India, mentioned arrest of Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, then went on to specifically talk about the income tax action on the Congress party. I saw it and I felt the question was planted. I did a debate on it that night. And I also surmised that the answer was also rehearsed. planted question, rehearsed answer. So my assumption is, and I said on that night, America is deliberately doing this. They are pressurizing us. Then there was a comment by Germany. Then there was a slightly more sedate answer by the United Nations. So the West seems to have a very enthusiastic interest of late, Mr. Jaishankar, on the domestic politics, especially before the elections. And we've seen this, some Australian channel running stories on the Indian Prime Minister accused of stifling dissent. Germany makes 2 statements regarding Kejriwal's arrest. Then the US makes 2 statements, deep concern over Kejriwal's arrest, freezing of bank accounts of the Congress party. You are summoning the ambassadors, they are going back, but no reparative action. And to top it all, the UN secretary, the UN office also made the comment. So my question is, Mr. Jaishankar, why is, I won't get into why this perception is there about India, because it's not perception. Is it the deep state getting back at India, especially because they are seeing Narendra Modi come in for a 3rd term? They want to apply the pressure. And they're not being very friendly about it. And is it the deep state getting by? Is this orchestrated? It can't be one-off. It has to be within nations, Five Eyes, or something more deep than it's not accidental. It doesn't appear accidental. I'm sure not to you either. Please.
I would use a different construct.
Sure.
The construct I would use is we live in an era of globalized ideologies. Okay. So what happens is people who espouse a certain line of thinking, let us say in India, would have counterparts or mirror images in other parts of the world. And in today's politics all over the world, these similar thinking people, you can say fellow travelers, support each other. Okay. When one is down, the other tries to help out politically. Okay. This is, by the way, not necessarily with specific reference to those foreign ministry remarks. I'm making it as a general point. So you see, for example, newspapers, TV channels, social media, reports, ratings of various kinds. What is this entire phenomenon? This entire phenomenon is actually a globalized elite, you can say, who share a broad similarity, who have also that sense of entitlement that they run the world. And if any part of the world goes off in a different direction and their preferred choices are not doing well, then they try from outside to influence, to legitimize, delegitimize, pressurize. This is broadly the
par for the course, you say?
No, this is the reality. It's not par for the course.
Not.
Because I'm going to challenge.
Okay.
How does one react to it? Okay. You react to it at a political level by countering it, by challenging it, by putting alternative narratives in place, by not turning the other cheek here, not saying, okay, it's one very prestigious newspaper in America, so therefore, I must accept it or bend to it, or so if it, and particularly, we've seen this, a lot of it out of New York and London. I mean, these are traditional Anglosphere sort of hubs, you can say. So I think politically this needs to be countered. Alternative narratives need to be out there. It has to be clearly put that the kind of vote bank politics that they espouse, the kind of special interests that they advance, the fact that they actually on the ground, while preaching a certain I would say a vision of progress. The reality is, if you look at even the globalization vision that they espouse, a narrow segment of people benefit and actually large masses get left out, which is why there is today a global reaction to it. And by the way, we are today confident enough, strong enough and independent-minded enough that we will not be swayed by what you are saying.
So it won't matter to us.
We will do our own thing. And we will counter it by our actions.
So will the pressure work? Will the pressure work?
So my first answer is, my way of responding to 10 years of pressure, one is by answering back, but the other is by doing things in India that when you have a government which says, look, this is a democracy that delivers, we will use technology, we will do good governance, we will ensure that socio-economic benefits will be delivered on a mass scale, and this will expose the people who espoused an earlier model, which was actually, this is one way of doing it. The other is when it comes to foreign officers. Okay. In diplomacy, there is an etiquette. Okay. I mean, people have manners, nations should also have manners. Sometimes people's manners are not good enough. I'm afraid occasionally that is the case of nations too. So when people with good manners, countries with good manners are not expected to comment on the internal politics of others, because once you start doing it, then what happens is you open it up. Now this is not going to help anybody at all. So the point here is to tell such countries that, look, it's in your own interest, please don't go down this path. And also when they do it, again, don't turn the other cheek. That as I tell people, look, if you comment on me, I have the right to comment on your comment. Okay. Now, how I modulate it will depend on my strategy, my interest, my timing. So this is not an era anymore, because again, part of it is it's not a level playing field. Okay, the people commenting and the subjects of their comment were historically, or at least in recent history, not on par. So some countries believe that over many years they've commented on the entire world, and that gives them a continuing right to comment. The world is changing. You're going to get pushbacks. We are pushing back.
Did America cross the line with the Kejriwal comment?
No, I think Arnab, we made
as straightforwardly as you can tell.
I think we made very clear what our view was, that
I'm asking you, did they cross the line?
I'm saying we took very strong objection to what they did.
But it's different when an NGO says that. It's different but it is very different when a government says it. Why the government saying it?
Well, look,
we wouldn't take notice in the media if it was an NGO or a think tank saying it, but if it's the government which says it, it's a completely different matter.
Which is why we communicated very clearly to the American acting ambassador that we take a strong objection to what was said, and that what was happening in India was not a concern of any foreign government. And that people should not...
Why did they continue then? Why did they persistently continue to make the comments?
I cannot either dissect it or justify it or analyze it beyond a point. I mean, if I feel what you have done is not correct, why am I going into what could be your possible mindset? That's for you to worry about.
So, last part of my question was that it's all happening together. Is it accidental that 4 or 5 governments are all saying the kind of same thing? It's official. It's not coming from UN, Germany, America.
I don't.
Is it accidental or is it coordinated?
I don't have a conspiracy view of the world, but I do have a view that different countries, different political interests, different governments sometimes coordinate. That is a fact.
Will it affect the foreign policy of Modi 3.0?
I don't think so.
No? I don't think so, or it won't.
No, absolutely.
If all these countries were to put pressure, would it affect our domestic politics or our...
What do you mean they're going to put pressure? I mean, is that going to make a difference to our election results? It won't. I mean, do you think anybody in this country wants to be told by some foreign government as to what is right and what is wrong? And if you look at these issues, here is a bottom line. There is a process of, there are legal issues. Okay. In these countries, does the law stop when election starts? So, do they expect the law to stop in India?
Yeah.
So, look, I think let's not overdo this. I mean, fine, they said something, we answered them back. We've been very clear. I mean, nobody faults us for lack of clarity. That much I can assure you. And I think that's where it stays. Now, if in their wisdom they choose to say something, then in my wisdom I will also answer.
Yeah, and what you say is very assuring, very reassuring for a lot of our viewers. But Mr. Jaishankar, the way we are placed as a country, as a global player, things are going to dynamically change. The Prime Minister speaks about Viksit Bharat, and there's a genuine sense of excitement about it. And I must say this, that the way the government handled Ukraine was just, I mean, I've said it once, the Prime Minister was at an event, and I said that history will remember the way we did it. But, the world will not want us to balance different boats. And your answer to that, maybe we are not balancing boats, we are in our own boat. But if I may go into detail on this, the messaging in the Ukraine Foreign Minister's holy video, announcing his visit to India was not lost on anyone. Standing in front of the Gandhi statue, speaking at length on the values of Gandhi, making a very subtle nudge on the moral, the moral need for India to support Ukraine in the war against Russia, similar to the headlines being made about India abstaining to vote on the Gaza ceasefire a few days ago. So there are undoubtedly lobbies and lobbies putting pressure on India to take a stand. Is it going to become increasingly difficult? Question one. Question two, as we become more significant, we become a $30 trillion economy by 2047, it's a reality that coercion tactics, pressure tactics, all these things will increase on the country. For people who are watching this interview in the context of the general election, they would want to know whether you feel these pressures will increase in the future, and therefore whether you feel whichever government comes into being or is in India over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, we'll have to take a little bit of a continuity route on our foreign policy.
We all like to say this, that foreign policy is largely an exercise of continuity. Like anything in life, it's partly true and partly not. I can give you examples of continuity. I can give you examples of differences, sometimes sharp differences. I think today, if one looks at our relationship with the US or our response to China, handling of Pakistan, stance on West Asia, Israel, I would argue that a lot of these would have been different had a BJP Sarkar under Narendra Modi not been in power. Okay. But having said that, your question, so it does matter. It's not like foreign policy runs on autopilot. It doesn't matter what government comes. I think it matters very much what government comes. I mean, this government, for example, has a very robust policy on counter-terrorism. It has a strong policy on defending our borders. It has a view about standing up to pressure. You mentioned Ukraine. I could give you Quad as another example. The pressure not to go ahead with Quad. So it does matter very much who is in power, who is the Prime Minister, what is the vision, what is the level of confidence. These things do matter. Your question, will the pressures increase as we become bigger? Yes. It's natural as any country rises, particularly a big country rises, that there will be others who will, in a sense, some will look askance, some would be uncomfortable, some would downright oppose. We are seeing shades, of course, shades of it. So a lot of diplomacy is going to be about how to manage that rise in the most smooth way possible. Now, if you look at China's rise, China essentially rose, I would say, between about 1990s till the early 2010s, the 20 years. Those 20 years, China had great stability in the international environment. There were things happening, but those things were firewalled and put away on the side. It didn't affect China. In our case, we have to be prepared to rise amidst a very volatile global situation, a lot of uncertainties. Where US will go, where China would go, what will happen with Russia, is Europe becoming more strategic, will the Middle East kind of explode even more? These are all going to be big issues. So we are actually looking at a very interesting proposition. On the one hand, there is the rise of India. We have, put our house in order. We are preparing ourselves for a big move. On the other hand, when we look, there are headwinds. We have to have the experience, the confidence, the wisdom, the understanding to navigate through those headwinds, which is why today it's so important to have a kind of leadership which the people of India will believe can sail the ship of India, navigate through these difficult waters.
So it's a weaker central government in India works for India's global competitors, quite clearly. I mean, who would not want to see us outpace them?
Yes.
To put it more directly, having Narendra Modi as Prime Minister of India is not in the interests of those who may be concerned that we will be outpacing them.
Let me put it to you positively. I think,
am I putting it?
No, I put it to you this way. Having Narendra Modi continue as the Prime Minister of India is obviously in the interest of India and the people of India, but I think is also very much in the interest of friends of India and those with whom we have converging interests. Because there are a lot of countries who today, they may differ with us.
Yes.
We discussed some of the Western countries, but by and large, Western countries today want to see India grow. They want to see India
there are these strong lobbies. And, did you see the Guardian article? Which featured an article saying
I don't normally read the Guardian. Is there a particular article?
Are you feigning ignorance of that?
No, I don't normally read the Guardian.
I also don't normally read the Guardian. But there was an article which caught my attention, and it's not about my views on it. I'd like your views on it. Because the article which said India's Foreign Intelligence Agency, referring to RAW, allegedly began to carry out assassinations abroad as part of an emboldened approach to national security after 2019. And interestingly, on the heels of this, another American paper, the Washington Post, I don't know if you read, says India was a miracle democracy, but it's time to downgrade its credentials. And, in February, a British publication said India's civil society is under attack. The crackdown is heart-rending, hurting policy making, millions of poor Indian lives. I wouldn't be concerned about the generic comments, but I am seeking your response to the very specific charge that we are carrying out assassinations abroad and quoting unnamed Indian intelligence officials, etc.
Look, as a generic, no. On the first issue, since you cited a lot of,
yes.
If a bunch of Western journalists have a problem with what is happening in India, that's their problem. Okay, we've been through that ground before. I've brought out to you the biases, the ideologies, the condescension.
Yes.
There's a whole syndrome out there. So I'd say I kind of
wave it off.
Thank you very much. I know how good a democracy I am. I am today a democracy that really delivers. And if we start getting into merits of democracies and the qualities of democracies, there may be a few home truths that I may have to give, which you may not like. But let's put that aside.
The second
the issue, if in regard to what you said, I think this pertained to Pakistan.
Sir, this pertained to the alleged assassinations in Pakistan.
Yeah.
Several individuals. Many of them who are terrorists.
Something allegedly happened in Pakistan. Okay, 2 people in Pakistan, presumably nationals of Pakistan, right? That's what we are talking about.
Yes.
Then you have the wrong end of the stick here. People should be asking Pakistan, who are these people? Who are these sterling citizens of yours who made such valuable contributions that their demise, alleged or otherwise, untimely or otherwise, is an object of international attention? So let's do some digging out here. Who are these people? Why are their alleged deaths causing concern? That should be the beginning, no?
Presumably, but the question is, the charge is being put increasingly of late that India has this Mossad, Israel type approach where you enter the borders of other countries and carry out assassinations.
My question is still not being answered. My question is, if some people allegedly died in Pakistan for whatever the causes, let's first discuss who are these people.
It's well known. Many of them are terrorists. Many of them are okay. So can I presume we did the background information. We checked it. Obviously the reference is to terrorists. Many of these terrorists are people who have played a role in carrying out terrorist attacks on Indian soil.
So some
of them, including taking part in
these alleged deaths in Pakistan of certain people. terrorists. Well, you remember that Hillary Clinton bit about snakes in your backyard. I think you have enough snakes in your backyard. Snakes may bite each other. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's happening in Pakistan. It's for them to figure out what is happening. But I would only say this: the moment I see that word intelligence in any article, I can tell you what every foreign office of the world will tell you. No foreign office, no foreign minister, no foreign office spokesman ever comments on anything. The moment you see that word intelligence, we have nothing to say.
Why is that?
That is because no country does that, no government does that.
So are you saying that it has no credibility whatsoever, that particular article?
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that there is a standard way by which every government responds to anything to do. No government responds to intelligence speculation. Let us say if this paper had made some article about British intelligence, you think the British Foreign Secretary would be saying, oh yes, come on guys, let me tell you everything about this? Of course not. I do see a global elite which often has preferences. When their preferences are not endorsed by an electorate, they apparently get upset about it. So these things do happen. And I also do see, by the way, I do see politicians from India, and I have called it out before. You cited one example, that going abroad and inviting others to come and interfere in this country, which I believe is wrong.
The probe into Mahadev betting app continues to deepen, and the investigation has now widened. Actor Sahil Khan appeared before the Mumbai police to record his statement regarding his alleged involvement in the Mahadev betting app case. The special investigating team of the Mumbai Cyber Cell had previously summoned Sahil and 3 others in December 2023, but he failed to appear for questioning at that time. Sahil is known for his roles in films such as Style and Excuse Me. Currently, he works as a fitness expert and founded his own company called Divine Nutrition. According to the FIR, the scam is estimated to be worth approximately rupees 15,000 crore. Saurav Chandrakar, a 28-year-old, and 43-year-old Ravi Upal are considered to be at the heart of the operations that have amassed rupees 6,000 crore through the illegal betting app. Last year, Ravi Upal was apprehended in Dubai by local authorities. An ED investigation uncovered a vast network providing illegal betting in various games operated by Mahadev Online Book. Betting included poker, card games, cricket, badminton and tennis, and even extended to allowing bets on the Indian elections. Platform is accused of match fixing, money laundering through cryptocurrency, and rigging games to ensure profits for panel owners and heavy losses for players. Mumbai Police's SI team will probe Sahil Khan in Mahadev betting app case. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
The city of Nizams is excited to witness one of the biggest
In an election time, I'm seeing that, as well as another article in the New York Times, which says Modi is where global democracy dies. On 7th of April, a British paper, the Financial Times, comments on the 2024 election being the last democratic election in the country. And you're smiling. So, okay, so would it be that you failed to convince the Western media, despite our stellar relationships with each of these countries, on the robustness of Indian democracy? And how do you read this increasing frequency of these articles on the eve of what is seen to be a historic election in India? I mean, obviously.
Tell me one thing. I mean, you and I are sitting here in India, a week away from the polls beginning. Do any of us actually feel that our electoral process, our democracy is in any danger? On the contrary, pick up today's newspaper. What do you see? You say leader A saying this, leader B saying this, opposition party, somebody doing this deal, somebody crossing over that side. I mean, the democracy is in action. No, they may be living, I mean, they must have some view of India on some other planet.
But do you not see a...
Can you actually, do you think any Indian actually believes today that our democracy is not working?
But do you not see a link between Rahul Gandhi going abroad and saying the Western democracy should come and save us, and the comments coming so much so, and increasingly the State Department speaking up for them and the articles coming out? Do you not see a link between his appeal and their follow-up action?
I do see, and I in fact early on began with that. I do see a global elite which often has preferences. When their preferences are not endorsed by an electorate, they apparently get upset about it. So these things do happen. And I also do see, by the way, I do see, politicians from India, and I have called it out before. You cited one example, that going abroad and inviting others to come and interfere in this country, which I believe is wrong. I may have my differences with you, but I don't think, look at our history. What happens when people go abroad and invite people to come? Okay, I think this is.
It encourages that trend. You feel it encourages that trend?
I think that's bad for the country. It's bad for the politics. It's bad for them, by the way, because it shows you are so weak that you have to go outside and ask people to come and support.
So Mr. Jaishankar, we referred to it some time back. Can it all get undone? Can it all come tumbling down? I mean, we're talking about an election where everybody is sort of assuming that it's going to be a sweep for the BJP. And we've got a certain route under the Modi government on foreign policy. It's not about 24, 29. I mean, my question to you is, we've seen what happened after the Pathankot, Balakot airstrikes. We've seen what we did with the Russian oil imports, how we took a position. But we've also seen, the word I would use is the pusillanimity of Indian foreign policy in the past. And I see this manifest. For example, in the Congress Party manifesto, which says, straying from foreign policy, that the office of the National Security Council and the office of the NSA should be brought under the oversight of a select committee of Parliament. So one would argue then that would the National Security Council or Mr. Doval's office, which he holds today, come under the supervision of the Danish Alis and the Mahua Maitras in the future? It's a very realistic question because it's been put up as a proposition, whereas the world is getting specialized, domain experts. So I asked myself, were it not to be a straight election where we see a Modi victory, would it not be a matter of concern that the most populous country in the world would have its foreign policy turned on its head should the result be different?
I think fortunately there won't be cause for concern.
Fortunately,
yes. So I think your worries are misplaced.
This time?
No, look, I'm optimistic about our country. I'm not saying we don't have challenges, but since you mentioned some things, let me respond to it. First of all, you must be one of the few people who's read the Congress Manifesto. I don't know how many places.
I read I have even.
I compliment you on your hard work.
I would even read the CPM manifesto.
But the fact is that if you look at most countries in the world, the National Security Advisor in almost any country, I can't think of any country where they actually are treated as a part of a parliamentary oversight. Yes. So I think whoever wrote it, what can I say?
It won't have relevance.
In any case, I admire the fact that you at least bother to read the manifesto, since there will not be an occasion for anything practical to happen with that manifesto. This will remain an academic point. But there is a larger issue that you have raised, and the issue is this. You see, in the last 10 years, there have been some significant changes in the manner in which we conduct foreign policy. not just in policies themselves. I can give you, as I said, give me any major account and I will show you that there has been change and change for the better. But if you look at some core issues which I think today should worry the Indian voter. Okay. One core issue, you will agree, Anab, is terrorism. Yes. Okay. See, now you have to look at the change in the last decade as opposed to the previous decade. And I take you back to actually 2611. If you remember 2611, if you see people, accounts of 2611, including by the NSA of the previous government, essentially 2611 happens, the best minds of the government apply themselves. There is, deep sort of consultation and confabulation, and then they collectively decide. What do they decide? To do nothing. So they go through this whole manthan and say, oh, by the way, the best policy is we should do nothing.
What are you referring to here?
2611.
Specifically, okay. Was there a policy note in which they ever said that?
No, please read Shiv Shankar Menon's account of it. So my point is that if at the end of it all, because terrorism, terrorism is not something which happened today, yesterday. Terrorism started in 1947, a few months after our independence. The first attack on Kashmir was a terrorist attack of tribal invaders on a deniable basis.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Now, instead of from day one calling out terrorism, fighting terrorism, what did we eventually do? We ended up on the conference table, no? And that's how you ended up with a ceasefire line. Now, my point is that the way to fight today, the people of India believe very deeply that there are some issues on which government should take a strong, uncompromising stance. Similarly,
we can't take that for granted.
We can't take it for granted.
For example, with China, we can't take it for granted. I agree with you on the terrorism issue, but thank you for complimenting me on reading the Congress Manifesto, which also says that 370 will be brought back effectively. And my big concern is, since the election interview, Mr. Jaishankar, is that people are concerned. Okay, there is an assumption Mr. Modi will come back, but people are concerned, what if that were not to be the case? I mean, what would be our relationship with China? For example, I am personally, we saw what happened with Manipur. And there are issues of arms smuggling on the China-Myanmar border. We know the interest that China would have in destabilizing the situation in Manipur. And, China openly has declared its support for the junta in Manipur, no matter how the situation changes. So they are vested in Myanmar. So they are vested in Myanmar. They would want an entry into India. They would want to upset the domestic situation in India. There are lobbies here that have made things difficult for a reconciliation to happen in Manipur. Can we really assume that China would not, for example, look for a moment of weakness of India's internal domestic policy and politics to get an entry point?
We must assume that life is competitive. There are powers who are competitive. Yes. And the solution is to prepare. Okay. I'm sorry I'm going back into history, but sometimes history is a very useful teacher. Take today one of the crucial issues with China, which is actually the line of actual control and ensuring peace and tranquility there. What is it at the end of the day a function of? A crucial aspect of it is actually infrastructure. When our problems with China started in the 1950s.
Yes.
It's very interesting if you go back. Where did it begin? I mean, there was of course a reading of China between Patel and Nehru. I've spoken about in public how Patel got it right and Nehru got it wrong. Okay. Patel basically said we have a two-front situation. Nehru said no, the Chinese will never do anything across the Himalayas. So Nehru was trusting, Patel was applying politics 101 on a neighbor. He was just a sensible, practical, non-ideological person who made a good judgment. Okay? Whereas Nehru made a bad judgment because he allowed his ideology to cloud the basics of diplomacy, which is you have a big neighbor, you have to take your precautions. Now, our first bad experience happened on an infrastructure when they built the Xinjiang-Tibet highway, which went through the Indian territory of Aksai Chin. Okay. From day one, it should have been in our minds that if you need to deal with China, you must build up the infrastructure. Yet what did we actually see? I mean, I'm now between 1957-58 till 62. Okay, infrastructure was okay.
Admitted it in Parliament.
So we've had actually an enormous neglect. I mean, I'm giving you firm figures. I mean, if you look at the budget for development of the infrastructure along the China border, it has gone up from below about 3,500 crores to about 15,000 crores today. If you look at the quality of projects, the amount of road building going there, the tunneling which is going there, every day you will read about some project. I mean, Prime Minister recently inaugurated the Sela tunnel. So my point is this. Look, we have to assume, Arnab, that competitive powers will do things. They may or may not do it. Do not assume that they will not.
So I will assume that China will, and in that context, my very specific question is, are you comfortable with the agreement signed between the Congress party? The MOU signed between the Congress party and the Chinese government, signed by Rahul Gandhi in the presence of Sonia Gandhi in 2008 on the sidelines of the Beijing Olympics. Congress party has a side agreement with the Chinese Communist Party. How safe is that?
You tell me.
It's not safe, if you ask me, sir. Do you agree with me?
Look,
it's not safe.
It's
not good.
I will only say this.
So,
I believe today, as a foreign policy advisor to the Prime Minister, that we should have a hard-headed view of our neighbors, especially of a neighbor like China. That in that sense, the Patel tradition, rather than the Nehru tradition, should guide us. It's not like nobody wants bad relations with neighbors, but good relations cannot be built up on weakness. Good relations cannot be built up on carelessness or on ideology or on misplaced ideologies that
but if you have this approach government to government, would the BJP go and do an agreement with the Chinese Communist Party? Does it not compromise our national security somewhat? Does it? I mean, and the document, nobody knows what it is. I mean, is it in the country's interest for parties in government or parties in power or opposition to have these arrangements with external governments?
You just heard me tell you when it came to DMK.
Yes.
Why I believe that transparency and openness are important.
Yes.
I believe that as a matter of principle.
You think the Congress should disclose that document?
As I said, go ask them.
But it's not a good thing. I think more or less, I think you're making the point there. Mr. Jaishankar, finally it is established that whenever a central force is weakened, the state is weakened. And one of the political issues which have been happening of late is the Congress saying that India is not a nation. It's been since we're in the heat of a national election. The Congress party leader goes and says India is not a nation. It's some kind of a negotiation. And you may agree or disagree with the reference, but since Brexit...
No, I strongly disagree.
With that, yeah.
Yes.
Would you like to respond to this view that India is not a nation? The comment made everywhere, it's a negotiation between states. It's not really a nation in that sense. Can I get your thoughts on it?
I cannot believe that for any right-thinking Indian, India can be a negotiation. How can it be a negotiation? I mean, this is our core belief. It's our existence. I mean, how can your core identity and your core commitment? I mean, a nation is what defines people. Every individual.
Yes.
How can that ever be a negotiation?
This has been said repeatedly.
I know, and
references to India and the EU are made. Would you not think that since Brexit in 2016?
No, look.
We are told that India is like Europe. India should be like Europe, like the European Union.
India is not like Europe, not like European Union. It's not like Europe on many other things. To begin with, we are a 5,000-year at least civilization. I think that alone sets us apart. But quite from the polity aspect of it, the European Union is something completely different. the European Union was a relatively recent construct, which is treaty based, where there were prior national identities which were merged. You are now talking about an India which is a civilization, a culture, a tradition, it is something which is our soul.
Yeah.
And if it is your soul, how can it be?
I personally find it totally appalling. But it's been said increasingly.
But if you are a person not appreciative of our culture, if you are dismissive of our civilization, if you do not understand our heritage, then you could say such a thing. I won't.
Yeah.
And frankly, I found that a very extraordinary comment.
It's a disgraceful comment, but again, since you're complimenting me on reading manifestos, it was part of the manifesto of the Congress which said we should move items from the concurrent list to the state list, and the attempt at sort of weakening the center. Mr. Jaishankar, we've had the issue with Canada. Where does it stand right now? I mean, where is the issue with Canada? Question one. And, on the 21st of March, an AAP leader, Raghav Chadda, met a British MP, Preet Kaur Gill, who has advocated for Khalistani groups in London, France, Germany. We've had the Amritpal episode play out in India. We have seen the Khalistani imprint on the 2020 farmers' protests. We are concerned as a nation that whatever our domestic issues are, there must be no foreign interference. And questions have been raised about whether the Aam Aadmi Party, allegations have been made, have had links with the Khalistani forces in Canada. So comment in the current political situation on this, this conviviality between groups in Canada and political parties here, one, and where are we placed on the Canada issue?
Let me come
because they also accused us recently of interfering in their election. That
was a bit thick coming from them. Look, the point is that where are we placed vis-a-vis Canada? I think we have had a very difficult relationship with Canada. And we've had a very difficult relationship with Canada because Canada, for political calculation, has given space to extremist political forces who often advocate violence and separatism from India. Okay. These people are today allowed to operate in Canadian politics in the name of, what they are saying is part of free speech.
Yes.
Okay. Now, that's a problem for us, understandably.
Yes.
And particularly if in the name of free speech you have taken it to a level of threatening diplomats of India, of any foreign country for that matter, of intimidating legitimate diplomatic activities. And I often ask my counterparts, how would you feel if the shoe was on the other foot? If this was happening to you, you'd be screaming.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that that kind of space not be given, that this intimidation and harassment of diplomats is not condoned.
Yes.
And that where there are cases, after all, we are democracies, we are members of Commonwealth, where there are extradition requests, where there are known terrorists operating out of Canada, that these requests are honored. So that is where we are on Canada. We have right now a frank engagement on this. I talk to my counterpart, some other colleagues talk to theirs. And I hope very much that we have seen, I would say, cooling down there was a time when things had got a little heated. So I think that temperature has come down. That's where things are. Regarding your issue I'll come to that. Your issue of foreign interference.
Yes.
I think if you actually see who is interfering where, we all know, which leader and in what situation who has commented on whose politics.
Yes.
So I think for any country to accuse India of interfering in its politics, I think is absurd. I think in many cases, if we put a mirror in front of them, I think you will get the answer. Your third question, who is hanging out with whom in London? There is
or other relationships.
There is a old saying that you are known by the company you keep. I would have thought, particularly at a sensitive time, politics being what it is, people would be careful.
Yeah.
If at this time, you feel that a company of known advocates of Khalistani cause is the preferred company, I think that says a lot.
Yeah. You've been exceptionally candid. May I say, before I ask you the last question, you've been very straightforward on a lot of things, and I must say, Mr. Jaishankar, that we've seen foreign ministers hold back a lot, and you don't hold back. You wave away some questions, but you do take all of them. So my last thought to you, and this is something we want to hear from you. You have a lot of people who are your followers, Gen Next and otherwise, and I want you to comment on this increasing narrative of suspicion towards the 400 plus issue. The Prime Minister is going and saying 400 par, 400 par, 400 par. And there is a commentariat which says there is a deep and sinister motive behind getting 400 par, because if the BJP or the BJP-led coalition gets that kind of government, that kind of numbers, they're going to overturn the constitution, remove democracy, change the basic nature of the constitution, introduce a presidential form of government, have a Hindu-only government. There is this aspect of creating a little impression, especially because the Prime Minister has also said, and everybody has said, that fundamental, be prepared for big changes. This is only an appetizer kind of, statements have been made by political leaders as well.
But there's nothing sinister about that.
You know how it's being read, that, oh my God, big changes. What are these big changes that will be brought in the third term?
Viksit Bharat.
Is it just that or something?
No, look, I mean, first of all, if people, it's like saying those who will not pass an exam are worrying about a student who will get distinction, and saying, oh, it'll be bad if you do well, because I don't have the ability to pass the exam. So I think people should worry about how they manage their own political prospects. At the end of the day, if the people of India choose to repose their confidence in the BJP on the basis of 10 years of a very, very solid record, I think this should be a celebration of democracy. I don't see any reason for anxiety. And as regards where we are going in the future.
Yes.
Look at our record of the past. Okay, because at the end of the day, past tells you something about the future. How have the mandates been used? The mandates have been used today to improve the infrastructure, to grow the economy, to fight the COVID and recover from the COVID, to counter terrorism, to protect our borders, to actually restore. I'll tell you one thing. Look, I am now no longer a young person, okay, to put it very politely. But I see today a faith in politics. When I go to universities and meet, younger professionals of various categories, what has happened in the last 10 years is we have actually restored the reputation of politics in this country. That people feel a leader is someone who cares for their country. That there are people who will work night and day, give their everything to take that country forward. So, if people, this is sort of reciprocated by a strong turnout of support, whatever the number, because ultimately, numbers we will know when the votes are counted. So I'm not going into the numbers. But to say, hoping for strong support is somewhere sinister. I mean, come on.
Really enjoyed talking to you. It's been a pleasure. We missed you at the Republic Summit, but I'm glad we caught up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jaishankar.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
In just a decade, India has transformed into a digital powerhouse. From classrooms to clinics, farms to finance, digitalization is revolutionizing every aspect of life. celebrate the makers and shakers behind Digital India and India's phenomenal digital yatra. Republic Business is delighted to bring its inaugural Republic Business Emerging Tech Awards.
The fight for Bengaluru rural is getting fierce. The constituency covers Kunigal, Rajarajeshwari Nagar, Bengaluru South, Anekal, Magadi, Ramanagaram, Kanakpura and Channapatna regions. D.K. Suresh of the Congress and C.N. Manjunath of the BJP will lock horns to stake claim over the constituency. In the 2019 election, D.K. Suresh won Bengaluru rural, the only Lok Sabha seat that the Congress could secure in the city. The BJP swept the remaining 3 Lok Sabha seats from Bengaluru. Bengaluru rural witnessed a 64.89% voter turnout in 2019, with the Congress-JDS alliance candidate D.K. Suresh retaining the seat with a margin of 2 lakh votes against BJP's Ashwath Narayana Gowda. Suresh secured 8.78 lakh votes. P. Chinnappa came third with 19,972 votes. Republic walked the campaign trail with BJP's C.N. Manjunath.
Doctor, 38 years of service in the medical field and also being the director of Jaideva Institute of Cardiology as well, you have served at your maximum capacity for the people too. The question at this point of time, why politics now when you have had an amazing career when it comes to your profession as well? 38 years.
See, I worked as a cardiologist at Sri Jaideva Institute of Cardiovascular Sciences for 35 years, as you...
Good evening and welcome, friends. This Sunday, 8 p.m. The BJP Manifesto is out today. The ruling party has gone with the Americanism. If it ain't broke, why fix it? In the context of continuing with Modi 1.0 and 2.0 schemes, only loading them with dollops of ambition and aspiration, wrapped in Modi ki guarantee as the party projected. One way of looking at it is avoid controversy when things are going good. Another is that the BJP is sure-footed enough about its victory. And that
QS and THE, the world's foremost university rankings organizations, have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
In just a decade, India has transformed into a digital powerhouse. From classrooms to clinics, farms to finance, digitalization is revolutionizing every aspect of life. To celebrate the makers and shakers behind Digital India and India's phenomenal digital yatra, Republic Business is delighted to bring its inaugural Republic Business Emerging Tech Awards.
Good evening and welcome, viewers. The BJP says that the fact that the bombers behind the Ap's Atishi says BJP Manifesto is a jumla. Kharge says promises are all lies. Iran mounts aerial attack on Israel with drones, missiles and retaliation to the attack. In retaliation to the attack on an Iranian consulate building in Damascus. Prime Minister Modi issues statement as Middle East conflict rises, says security of Indians is top priority. Iran, in a letter to the United Nations, emphasizes that it will not hesitate to exercise its inherent right of self-defense when required.
All right, so as I said, we are going to discuss three aspects of the manifesto released by the BJP today, and we will have a studio conversation with two guests. But let me get you the first aspect. The manifesto focuses on continuity and consolidation. The accent is on scaling up on what has been delivered by Modi 1.0 and 2.0. Look at saturation coverage and improve the quality of governance delivery. So from a gas cylinder in Ujjwala Yojana, it becomes piped gas. From homes for the poor under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, it becomes redesigned homes fit for modern amenities under PMAY. A Mudra loan gets meteor at rupees 20 lakhs from rupees 10 lakhs earlier. Ayushman would now include all senior citizens above 70 years, irrespective of economic strata, inching towards universal healthcare in Modi 3.0. That's how continuity is also seen, for example, in ideological position. So while the Ram temple is inaugurated, the government would now push for Ramayana festivals around the world. That's one aspect, continuity and consolidation. Joining me in the studios, Abhishek Sudhir. He leans against the government, and in a bit we already have Deshratan Nigam, who's going to give us the side of the BJP. And let me begin with you, Abhishek. This continuity and consolidation, how do you see this aspect where the BJP is not tinkering with what has already delivered for them?
Look, you spoke about if it ain't broke, why fix it? Okay, and you're talking about continuity. Right, so let's look at the 2019 manifesto and compare it to the 2024 manifesto. Several things are missing from the 2024 manifesto that were present in the 2019 manifesto, like NRC. National Register of Citizens has been omitted by the BJP in the 2024 manifesto. That's a huge omission. You remember the Shaheen Bagh protests. So has the BJP dropped the NRC? Kagaz dikhana padega. You remember the Shaheen Bagh protests? Muslims were in fear. Ki kagaz dikhana padega. Has BJP dropped NRC? Ideologically, are they now against NRC? Are they saying undocumented illegal immigration is no longer a problem in India? This is a huge omission. Abhishek, a huge omission. So the NRC, as far as I'm concerned, is dead. There's another glaring omission from the 2019 manifesto, right? And that's POK, right? Closely linked to NRC, because NRC is also a national security matter, said the Home Minister Amit Shah. POK is not mentioned in the 2024 manifesto. That's a shocking omission. So has India accepted that Pakistan-occupied Kashmir is now Pakistani territory? Are we not going to fight with the Pakistanis? Are we not going to get POK that was taken away from us in 1948 by the invasions of the Afridi tribes from the northwest frontier? So NRC abandoned, POK abandoned. Has POK been fixed? No, it is broke. Has NRC been fixed? It is broke. So you have these two divisive issues that the BJP raked up in 2019 that have been completely abandoned in 2024. We need clarity, and I have many more comments to make on many more omissions. Okay. But let me, if you want, you can get a response.
Okay, on the aspect of continuity and consolidation, Deshratan Nigam, Abhishek Sudhir punches a hole. He says that NRC was mentioned in 2019 but is missing in 2024. How do you see that?
Well, Abhishek, I think NRC is beyond politics. It is a mandate of the nation, and every nation maintains NRC. And the way the census will take place, and also the drone mapping of villages is taking place, a base is being prepared, so that ultimately when the NRC comes, and it is not necessarily to be given in a manifesto, it is a government's mandate, and whichever party comes to power, they have to make the NRC. Every country in the world has its register of citizens. India is the only place where the opposition, for the sake of opposition, opposes the NRC. They do not want the citizenship register. And that is where the difference lies. And I'm sure this will happen because this is the national mandate, it is beyond party politics. Secondly, POJK, please wait, have patience. These are the matters which has to be done in a manner so that the other side is taken by surprise. It is not going to be announced that we are going to do anything in terms of policy. Yes, it was there. Maybe BJP probably will give you a big surprise tomorrow. So I don't think that these are things, and the nationalist fervor of the BJP, which is a nationalist party.
What Deshratan Nigam is saying is, okay.
Okay. What you seem to be saying is, Deshwatan Nigam, that maybe it's a strategy to sort of not attract controversy now and maybe do NRC later. You think that can be done?
NRC and getting POK back are key demands.
But I don't agree with you, Deshwatan Nigam, because you see, the fact is that the party has spoken publicly about it. It is part of the party manifesto of 2019, and the Home Minister has spoken about it from the floor of the House. So, I mean, if at all there are doubts about NRC, we don't know. But then if it has to be brought in, why not mention in the manifesto and take credit for it?
Exactly.
You know, we saw a lot of disturbances taking place in India, and there were certain sections were misguided about NRC and CA both. So CA has been implemented, and the NRC, it is ultimately going to come. Which country does not have, I say, its register of citizens? And ultimately, India is also working towards it. A lot of basic policies are going on the ground. Say, I am aware of the program of drone mapping of villages, the properties, and those are some of the factors which will become a part as a basis for NRC. And I believe with the kind of policies they already have, so that kind of a thing will sooner or later come.
So I guess this is a pro-Muslim omission. I guess this is looking like the Muslim League manifesto.
Why should you object to that of all people, Abhishek Sudhir?
I am here as an analyst and as an Indian. If you are saying that undocumented...
Is that good or bad?
It is definitely bad. NRC is a key demand of the BJP's hardcore voters.
But is it good or bad according to you? Like, do you want NRC or not want NRC?
See, the census has been delayed for several years. Okay, the census has been delayed. It's been 4 years now. Census should have been conducted. It's not been conducted. Pandemic was long over. Combine the census with the NRC. If you're saying undocumented illegal immigration is a problem, combine it with NRC.
Deshwatan Nigam, it becomes a matter of record that Abhishek Sudhir is actually okay with NRC. So next time when we are having a debate, full-fledged debate on NRC, we would be remembering that Abhishek Sudhir is on record that NRC should be there.
As long as you don't target one community.
It is never the case. But anyway.
POK omission, he should answer. I mean.
Okay, quickly, Deshwatan Nigam, why is POJK not mentioned? POJK, right?
POJK, right. You've added the J.
I think that's an issue which needs to be dealt with quietly, and in a manner that the other side is taken by surprise. A mere omission does not mean the government of India has changed its position. It's a parliamentary resolution. Please understand that, Mr. Sudhir. It was a resolution passed unanimously in the parliament. Please understand that it's a commitment of a nation, of every government,
one line in a manifesto. Can't you just put it in PDF में लगाने में क्या होता है?
No, it's not like that. You see, manifestos are sacrosanct. Manifestos are sacrosanct. Manifestos are like party has to be held accountable based on what is written there.
POK to gaya.
No, but it's not necessary that it has to be done this time. But anyway, that's where Deshwatan Nigam to respond. But, let me get on to the next aspect, which we are examining, which is whether the BJP has come under pressure from the freebie culture some political parties have practiced. The manifesto promises free electricity and, of course, continuing the free rations under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. Let's look at those graphics and we understand what exactly this means. Essentially, what we have seen is that this was posited as a debate between freebies, which were not accounted for by some political parties,
right,
versus the BJP, which said that, okay, fine, we can give some freebies, but they should be managed in a manner, packaged in a manner, delivered in a manner that they do not cause us an unsustainable fiscal bearing on the budget, right? So, in that context, let me ask it to Deshwatan Nigam first. Deshwatan Nigam, you think the BJP got a little psyched out with the free wording? Even if it's not giving anything for free, it's actually wanting to use the word, and that's why free electricity and free ration?
Well, Abhishek, let me make it very clear that there were times in UPA that huge number of fake beneficiaries were there, which were actually cornering the money, fake ration cards, fake Manrega beneficiaries. Even Tamil Nadu had to return the money allocated under Manrega because fake beneficiaries were removed, and the huge amount of money that the government saved directed towards the welfare schemes and also fresh allocations as well. Now there is a difference between freebies and targeted subsidies which are being given. Now freebies is given left, right, center to everybody, people who deserve and people who don't deserve. Even in Delhi you said 200 units free to everyone. even if you don't deserve, you are also getting it. So that causes a huge amount of burden on the exchequer.
Okay.
Now the free electricity of Mr. Modi's government is to provide solar energy on rooftops of 1 crore people, which will be increased to by 3 crores now under the new manifesto. So there you generate the electricity, use it for your own consumption, and then sell it to the state and also make money. This is not a freebie. This is empowerment. This is not a freebie. And 80 crore people, let me tell you, the huge amount of ration, in India, grains which are being wasted through, rains and so many things. Why not give it to the people? And especially targeting the poor. Not everybody. I am not getting a free ration. Sudhir is not getting the free ration. It is the targeted people. So there is a difference between freebies and targeted subsidies. Please understand that.
Okay, so Abhishek, Sudhir. Right. Essentially, the BJP might have tinkered with the word free, but it's actually not giving anything free. Free ration is actually state welfareism, where you're taking care of the poor in the truest sense. And the free electricity is actually not free, because you are actually generating electricity through the solar panels on your home, atop your home, and then using the same electricity.
Okay, one point about this Revdis, right? Where do you draw the line between welfareism and Revdis?
No, how come
right?
free? How come the solar panel electricity, free electricity is a Revdi?
Generating solar energy is not free. There is significant infrastructure investments you must make to generate solar energy. You have to install solar panels. Those panels have to be regularly
I think
maintained.
those are being given as part of the Pradhan Mantri Surya Ghar Yojana.
But the government is investing money in that electricity, in that infrastructure. It has to be regularly maintained. I've had a solar rooftop panel installed.
Isn't it good?
Trust me, it is the maintenance required. It is huge, right? We've gone back to geysers. We were using solar water, but it's gone back to geyser because the maintenance is huge. It keeps getting spoiled. You're dependent on sunlight. Yes. Okay. In Bundelkhand is fine. You have, year-long sun in Bundelkhand. UP government is focusing a lot on solar energy. All that is well and good. Okay. Mr. Nigam raised an important point about electricity. AAP model and Congress model is different. Congress model on free electricity in Bangalore is if you use more than X number of units, you don't get any units free. AAP model, which he's speaking of in Delhi, is no matter whatever units you use, the first 200, 300 units is free. Now, there are two different models you can agree on, but it's still free. 80 crore people.
So you seem to be agreeing with the Congress model fully?
The Congress model, right.
Partly agreeing with the AAP model, but you don't agree with the BJP model.
The BJP, I don't know what the BJP model is.
BJP model is simple so far as free electricity is concerned.
It is saying in the manifesto free electricity through solar. That's it.
Yes, exactly.
Right, but solar again is not free to generate. Like generating electricity through coal is also not free to generate. That's what I'm trying to say. That the state still has to. Who will maintain the solar panels? Will the state subsidize?
Of course, it's, the Pradhan Mantri Solar Ghar Yojana is actually a subsidy scheme.
See, installation, their government is funding, taxpayer is funding.
It's a subsidy
Maintenance,
scheme.
Taxpayer is funding.
No, but it is dovetailed also with climate change objectives also, right?
That is fair enough. See, now the debate is going in a different direction.
No, it's not. So it's an omnibus kind of scheme where you are incentivizing free electricity production or subsidized electricity production in a manner that some part of the electricity bill of the households comes down, not entirely, but some. And then you dovetail it with some climate change objectives also, right? So in that sense, it's a modernist idea, picking up some thought from the freebie culture, but at the same time, not making it completely free. So it's not like very socialist. It's not like very socialist.
Okay.
But then it tries to bring the best of both the worlds together.
I don't know. See, honestly, you're talking about, look, if you ask me, as far as rations are concerned, that is also a freebie if you actually look at it. Because you're saying 80 crore people are getting rations. Abhishek, are you telling me that 80 crore people in this country can't afford to buy food grains? That's what I want to know. Are 80 crore people
Nigam,
not
Abhishek
consumers?
Sudhir is saying people in the country are well enough. The Modi government should be taking care of, having people who can afford ration rather than give free ration and create an impression that people are poor.
One point, in Uttar Pradesh, there is a huge black market for these ration goods. You go to Lucknow, you go to Eastern UP, people are selling these grains in the black market.
Abhishek, in fact, the first point that you had raised about solar energy, the BJP manifesto focuses on ecology and economy both, and environment and clean energy. So you save a lot of carbon footprints, and in fact, you also create an environment which is pollution free, and also give a means of earning money to the people. This is empowerment. Now let me come to the 80 crore people. Now, when I'm not saying all 80 crores cannot afford, but there is a cutoff line, a reasonable classification that they have made on number of parameters that these people will be eligible. Now, once you give them crores of 80 crore people free ration, if they can afford, which means they have a disposable income which they have saved available to them, which goes into the economy in purchasing. Okay. So that affects the economy, that affects the GDP. Please understand, this is how economy works. The free income, disposable income in the hands of people will allow to promote economy.
Where is the motivation to work? The bellies are full. You look at joblessness in East UP. Sub games खेल रहे, PUBG खेल रहे, and their bellies are full. Nobody is looking for jobs.
Isn't it a good objective for a socialist, right?
No,
you have been with the Samajwadi Party earlier, right?
I have been with the Samajwadi in the past, and that's why it was in the past. See, I'm a free market capitalist. I have no qualms about saying that. It's sad that the Congress Party
free market capitalist via the Samajwadi Party and the Aam Aadmi Party.
Well, look, at the end of the day, I am right when it comes to my economics. I am left.
If you are truly a free market capitalist, you should be agreeing with the free electricity scheme of this kind, where you are incentivizing electricity production at household level, and then maybe cross-subsidizing it and dovetailing it with climate change objectives.
The proof of the pudding is in the eating. That's a saying. You'll install the panel, you'll maintain the panel. Okay, if you pull this off, right? And I think he's linked it with Suryavanshi and he's linked it with Lord Ram, right? The solar scheme. If you pull it off, I'll be the first one to appreciate.
Okay, fair enough. Third aspect is ambition and aspiration that's getting reflected in the BJP manifesto for Modi 3.0 term. A bullet train network around the country after the Ahmedabad-Mumbai route is completed. More Vande Bharat trains, more Namo Bharat trains. I mean, we have seen the beginning of those trains, but maybe amplified X times. More connectivity, more startups, and more importantly, the manifesto talks about creating an ecosystem of startups in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So essentially addressing the youth, addressing aspirations of a new society, that seems to be the objective of the manifesto. But having brought these three aspects, Abhishek, Sudhir, as I said in the beginning, the most striking aspect that I found in this manifesto is that it sort of eschews controversy completely.
Yes.
The Uniform Civil Code is mentioned obviously because it has been in the manifesto for that entire existence of the BJP since 1980. But apart from that, it just focuses really hard on governance, on the Modi style of governance in terms of speed and scale. It focuses on only talk about positive things. For example, even in the foreign policy aspect, it does not mention Pakistan, it does not name China. The Congress makes that mistake. The Communist Party makes that mistake by saying we don't want nuclear weapons. But the BJP is absolutely focused on making sure that they are not getting into any controversy, just focusing on talking things which are connecting with an aspirational society, which makes me come to this understanding, and would you agree or not, Abhishek, Sudhir, that the BJP is very confident that they are winning. So why disturb or why create any disturbance?
Right, so they've been in power for 10 years, right? You speak of aspiration, they've been in power for 10 years, you spoke of a startup ecosystem. Their urban youth unemployment rate in India through the ILO statistics, 80% of all the unemployed workforce consists of the urban youth. I told you this morning as well, UP, 60,000 constable posts, 50 lakh aspirants. The government job still remains the ultimate goal for an Indian, right? We cannot go away from that. So in 10 years, when Modi ji said, he said, देखिए, hotel चलाना का काम सरकार का काम नहीं. The government should not be running hotels. The government should not be running airlines, divestment of Air India, sale of Air India to Tatas. Right? You say all of that. You say aspirations.
Do you agree with that or not? Selling Air India?
Look, I don't know. Look at Vistara. Look at the state of Vistara.
No, why look at Air India? Why you are a free market capitalist. You should agree with that.
I agree. It was an undervalued sale. The sale of just 18,000 crores Tatas got Air India for a steal. And as a free market capitalist, the market should determine the price.
But as a free market capitalist, you should agree with that.
I agree with the sale, but not with the price. I agree with the sale.
Deshwatan Nigam.
Abhishek, one point I just want to make about aspirations. You said this is a risk-free manifesto.
No, this aspect is about sure-footedness of the BJP. They're so confident.
It's a boring manifesto, Abhishek. It's a boring election. whether you want to admit it or not, आप मीडिया के लोग देखिए,
just to make it fun, just to make it fun, would you say that the BJP should have quoted controversy?
Why not make the name NRC? Say NRC. You've not. That is a cowardly move. Modi ji has always been known for not taking laws back.
Deshratan Nigam, he's saying it's a boring manifesto.
It is a boring manifesto. It is a lack of
ideas. Even if BJP is confident, it's a boring manifesto.
There's a bankruptcy of ideas in this manifesto.
He's provoking you. Put in something controversial so that, the opposition can pounce on you.
See, the fact is, nobody's talking about others' manifestos. Indic Alliance have had 100 manifestos. None of them approved by each other. So you can understand the frustration of the opposition. And this is the only time when people are not talking about anti-incumbency. Have you noticed, Abhishek? Nobody's talking about anti-incumbency against this government. About Air India, 18,000 crore was the price. Do you know how much the loan it had, which has been adjusted against it? 78,000 crores. Please understand. That also is included here.
Yeah,
please understand that. Please, you need to read it properly. I know you are an intelligent person, but you have deliberately left out the loan aspect, which has been adjusted in this price. 18,000 is the price.
Okay, I have to come to an end of this conversation. Deshratan Nigam, only 30 seconds. What do you think that the party missed in the manifesto, according to you? 30 seconds.
See, I don't think party seems to have missed anything. They received a very poor base of development in 2014, on which they have built a base and also a structure to a larger extent. Now they need to build a superstructure on it, both domestically and
okay, thank you so much. Abhishek Sudhir, one thing which the BJP has made right in the manifesto.
Made right?
Yes, of course.
Well, I think at the end of the day, the BJP has put in the UCC. They've stayed consistent, but in 10 years, they've still not implemented
consistent, continuity and consolidation. That seems to be the message coming out of the manifesto, on which BJP wants the people to give a mandate for Modi 3.0. On that note, thank you so much, friends. In fact, we are cutting live to pictures coming in from Mangaluru, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi is carrying out a road show. Remember, he began the day early at 7:30 a.m. when he visited the parliament, paying respects on behalf of the nation, led by President Draupadi Murmu to father of Indian Constitution, P.R. Ambedkar, on his birth anniversary. Then he went to the BJP headquarters for releasing of the manifesto, and then he flew down to Hoshangabad in Madhya Pradesh, and then onwards to Mandya and Mysuru and Bengaluru now. That's Prime Minister's Day. He's wrapping up with this roadshow. On that note, thank you so much, friends, for joining us this Sunday, 8 p.m. And short break. News is back on the other side.
In just a decade, India has transformed into a digital powerhouse. From classrooms to clinics, farms to finance, digitalization is revolutionizing every aspect of life. To celebrate the makers and shakers behind Digital India and India's phenomenal digital yatra, Republic Business is delighted to bring its inaugural Republic Business Emerging Tech Awards.
Terror hideouts bust open. Faces of terror face crackdown by forces. Ahead of the upcoming Lok Sabha elections, the security forces in J&K are carrying out a full-scale anti-terror operation. In the latest massive crackdown by the J&K police in Kishtwar district, more terrorists were apprehended. Terrorists and their associates were taken into custody by the security forces. Over a dozen surrendered terrorists, terror associates, and individuals with histories linked to terrorism were detained by J&K police ahead of the Lok Sabha elections.
A massive crackdown has been launched by the Kishtwar police in the upper areas of the Bonjwa and the nearby tehsils on the terrorists and their sympathizers that are active in the area. Early today morning, multiple teams of the Kishtwar police carried out searches at the residences of the surrendered terrorists as well as the overground workers and the history sheeters that are involved in the terror crimes. The teams that were led by the SSP Abdul Qayyum raided multiple houses and over a dozen dozen of the history cheaters, the surrender terrorists and the overground workers have been detained as a precautionary measure after the inputs from the central agencies that they may try to foment trouble in the upcoming Lok Sabha polls, and ahead of that a precautionary action has been taken. In days to come in the other tehsils and the subdivisions there will be similar kind of actions that will be followed by the Kishtwar police as well.
A very good evening to all our viewers. Thank you for tuning into Republic TV. I'm Deepak Suresh Kumar. Lots lined up, but first the headlines.
इस भारत के 4 मजबूत स्तंभ युवा शक्ति, नारी शक्ति, गरीब, किसान, इन सभी को सशक्त करता है.
Big pro-people promises in BJP's Manifesto: free electricity, continuation of free ration scheme for the poor. BJP hails Modi ki guarantee manifesto. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath says PM Modi's vision is BJP's vision.
मैनिफेस्टो देखना ये और उसको विश्वास करना ये ठीक नहीं है. इससे ये साबित होता है कि लोगों के लिए उन्हें कुछ देने के लिए उनके पास नहीं है.
AICC Chief Mallikarjun Kharge and Aap Satishi called BJP's manifesto as Jumla. Iran mounts aerial attack on Israel with drones, missiles in retaliation to the attack on an Iranian consulate building in Damascus.
आज विश्व में अनिश्चितता के बादल छाए हुए हैं, युद्ध की स्थिति बनी हुई है. संकट के ऐसे समय में इन क्षेत्रों में रह रहे भारतीयों की सुरक्षा ये हमारी प्राथमिकता है.
PM Modi issues a statement as Middle East conflict continues to remain on the boil, says security of Indians is the top priority. In a letter to the United Nations, Iran emphasizes that it will not hesitate to exercise its inherent right of self-defense when required.
जैसे गठबंधन लेके सिर्फ अगर ये फार्मूला पे काम करती रहेगी, ये नेतृत्व की अगर पूरी फिलोसफी कि ये हमको सिर्फ मोदी को रोकना है, बीजेपी को रोकना है, तो शायद इस देश में अब इस चीज को बेईमानी लोग मानते हैं. लीडरशिप को कम से कम मोदी के पैरेलल में वो नेतृत्व देना होगा, तभी शायद मुझे लगता है कि देश एक फैसला लेने के हक में होगा. गौरव
जी, विनोद जी, अब बने रहिए हमारे साथ. आयशा खानम हमारी सहयोगी हमारे साथ लगातार जुड़ी हुई हैं. आयशा, ग्राउंड जीरो पर जब हम देख रहे हैं तो कार्यकर्ताओं में किस तरह का जोश नजर आता है?
Well, viewers, these are the visuals of Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Mangaluru. Excitement fills the air as the countdown begins for the Lok Sabha elections. The Prime Minister's highly anticipated roadshow is currently underway. Thousands of eager individuals have gathered and have flocked the thoroughfare from Narayan Guru's circle in Lady Hill to Navbharat Circle. Now the venue has been adorned with vibrant decorations. Many sea of Modi fans have also gathered to witness the Prime Minister's roadshow. Remember, viewers, this comes ahead of the phase 1 of the Lok Sabha elections. The Prime Minister is in Karnataka. He is rallying for support for the BJP and the JDS alliance. This is Prime Minister's roadshow in Mangaluru. Now, if you see, the supporters on either sides of the roadshow including women and children, line the streets with Modi masks and also saffron shawls, eagerly waiting to get a glimpse of their Prime Minister. In fact, stringent security measures have also been put in place with a bandobast organized under the supervision of Special Protection Group, SPG. And over 1,000 police personnel have been also stationed to maintain order and ensure the safety of the people as well as the Prime Minister. Now, public vehicular traffic has also been temporarily suspended along the route from Lady Hill to Navbharat Circle in view of the Prime Minister's mega roadshow in Mangaluru. This is the Prime Minister's roadshow in the coastal town of Mangaluru. A sea of fans have already gathered and pro-Modi slogans are also being raised. The Prime Minister is also being accorded a floral welcome. As well, the Prime Minister, along with the top Karnataka BJP leaders, are taking part in the mega roadshow in Mangaluru.
सरकार की कई खामियों को लोगों के सामने रख रहे हैं, उनकी कमजोरियां गिना रहे हैं, उनके जो स्कीम्स है उसे एक्सपोज करते हुए जा रहे हैं। तो जाहिर है ये रणनीति बीजेपी के पक्ष में रहेगी। हालांकि बीजेपी के लिए चुनौती, जैसे कि मैंने बताया कि कुछ सीट पर टिकट नहीं मिलने की वजह से कुछ लोग नाराज थे, लेकिन उन्हें मना लिया गया है। तो ये भी एक थोड़ा अंडरकरेंट बीजेपी के लिए नजर आ रहा है। लेकिन बीजेपी जब भी मैदान में उतरती है एज ए पार्टी, जब आखिरी वक्त तक जब वोटिंग तक बीजेपी इस पूरे मामले को सुलझा लेती है और एकजुट होकर हर जीत को हासिल कर लेती है। तो जाहिर है बीजेपी के लिए ये चुनौती कुछ हद तक बीजेपी के सामने अभी भी रही। कम से कम 10 सीटों पर कुछ बीजेपी के नेता नाराज थे, लेकिन बीजेपी ने इस मामले को सुलझाने का दावा किया है। तो ये देखना दिलचस्प होगा कि कैसे बीजेपी प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी के नेतृत्व में, देखिए यहाँ पर कैंडिडेट से ज्यादा प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी का नेतृत्व इम्पोर्टेंट है। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी की नेतृत्व की बात कही जाती है और जो बीजेपी प्रधानमंत्री की छवि और प्रधानमंत्री का 10 साल प्रधानमंत्री ने केंद्र में जो शासन दिया, ये तमाम चीजें जो है इसके आधार पर बीजेपी वोट मांग रही है। तो ये जो है बीजेपी का एक एडवांटेज है। तो इस एडवांटेज के तहत बीजेपी कर्नाटक में जो लक्ष्य रखा है 28 की 28 सीटें जीतने का, ये बीजेपी के लिए मुश्किल नहीं है, लेकिन नामुमकिन भी नहीं कह सकते। जैसा कि अभी विनोद जी बता रहे थे, तो मोदी है तो मुमकिन है। तो यही बीजेपी के कार्यकर्ताओं में जोश है, उत्साह है और उन्हें यही कहा जाता है कि मोदी है तो मुमकिन है। तो अगर ये फॉर्मूला बीजेपी चलाती आ रही है पिछले 2 टर्म से, तो इस तीसरे टर्म में ये फॉर्मूला क्यों नहीं चलेगा? तो इसका कोई कारण नजर नहीं आ रहा है। तो ऐसे में बीजेपी इन तमाम फैक्टर्स को साथ लेकर बीजेपी आगे बढ़ रही है और ग्राउंड पर यही रियलिटी नजर आ रही है कि कैसे बीजेपी एक एक चप्पे पर, एक एक बूथ पर अपनी मजबूती, देखिए बीजेपी का सबसे ज्यादा उसकी जो शक्ति है, जो ताकत है, वो बूथ लेवल के कार्यकर्ता है। बूथ पर बीजेपी कैसे पन्ना प्रमुख की स्ट्रेटेजी बनाती है, एक एक बूथ पर एक एक लीडर को तैयार करती है। और बीजेपी की एक और खासियत है कि वो एक हर कार्यकर्ता को, जो कार्यकर्ता जो फुट सोल्जर्स है, उन्हें भी अहमियत देती है, उन्हें पार्टी का हिस्सा मानती है। तो ये जो है बीजेपी की सबसे बड़ी ताकत है और यही ताकत बीजेपी अपनी जीत में बदलती जा रही है और इस चुनाव में भी ये रणनीति साफ नजर आ रही है।
आयशा, महिलाओं की जो भागीदारी है वो भी हम देख रहे हैं और बड़े पैमाने पर महिलाएं जो हैं वो इस आइडियोलॉजी के साथ जुड़ भी रही हैं। ऐसे में ये कितना बड़ा चेंज मेकर साबित होगा 2024 के चुनाव में?
जी बिल्कुल, महिलाएं एक अहम वोट बैंक बन गया है बीजेपी के लिए, क्योंकि महिलाएं जानती हैं कि केंद्र सरकार ने जो महिलाओं के एम्पावरमेंट के लिए जो योजनाएं लागू की है और वुमेन रिजर्वेशन बिल को जो केंद्र सरकार ने लागू किया है, तो ये जो केंद्र सरकार ने पारित किया है, ये जो है महिलाएं जानती हैं कि कैसे उन्हें लीडरशिप के लिए तैयार कर रही है बीजेपी। महिलाओं को महज घर में उज्ज्वला स्कीम के जरिए उन्हें घर में गैस के सिलेंडर देकर वहीं तक सीमित नहीं किया जा रहा है। महिलाओं को आगे बढ़ने के लिए एक लीडरशिप रोल के लिए तैयार किया जा रहा है। तो ये महिलाएं जानती हैं, यही वजह है कि महिलाएं अब कई घरों में महिलाएं डिसीजन मेकर्स बन गई हैं। जैसे कि मैंने आपको बताया, अल्पसंख्यक समुदाय में भी महिलाएं इस बात से वाकिफ है कि कैसे उन्हें जो उनके जो पुराने ख्यालात हैं उनसे बाहर निकाल कर उन्हें सशक्त बनाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी। और इस बात की एक्सेप्टेंस हर वर्ग की महिला, हर क्षेत्र की महिलाओं में साफ नजर आ रही है। तो ये बीजेपी की एक ताकत है, बीजेपी की एक शक्ति है और बीजेपी इन तमाम चीजों पर निर्भर है। और बीजेपी को इस बात का आश्वासन भी है कि ये जो तमाम जो फैक्टर्स है, जो तबका है, महिला हो या फिर लाभार्थी तबका हो या युवा तबके, तमाम जो तबके हैं वो बीजेपी के पक्ष में बीजेपी को वोट देंगे। तो इसी कॉन्फिडेंस के साथ बीजेपी वोट मांगने के लिए इस तरह के रोड शो करती है। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी की जो छवि है, उनकी जो शख्सियत है, उसको पूरी तरह से बीजेपी भुनाती है और बीजेपी प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी भी इसके जरिए लोगों के साथ जुड़ जाते हैं, लोगों के साथ उनका कनेक्ट होता है। तो ये जो है बीजेपी की कामयाबी का मंत्र बनता हुआ जा रहा है और ये जो है जाहिर सी बात है इतिहास में आगे चलकर ये मोदी मंत्र बनेगा और बीजेपी इस मंत्र को अपनी जीत के लिए आगे भी स्ट्रैटेजी का हिस्सा बनाती रहेगी।
बिल्कुल, आयशा बनी रही है हमारे साथ। विनोद जी भी लगातार हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं। विनोद जी, एक आकलन करना भी जरूरी है कि आज हमने देखा कि बीजेपी का मैनिफेस्टो सामने आया, साथ ही साथ हमने और भी जो पार्टियां हैं और साफ तौर पर क्षेत्रीय पार्टी जो इंडी गठबंधन में है उनके भी अलग अलग मैनिफेस्टो देखे। तो ऐसे में सवाल ये उठता है कि अगर इंडी गठबंधन बन रहा है तो एक विचारधारा होनी चाहिए, लेकिन वहां जो बिखराव की स्थिति है वो अब की बार के चुनाव में खासतौर पर अगर हम देखें तो वो कितना बड़ा अलग डिफरेंस क्रिएट करती हुई नजर आएंगी।
देखिए गौरव, हम लोग बात कर किए हैं इस पे पहले भी कि कोई पॉलिटिकल पार्टी फ्रीबी को लेके और गारंटी को लेके अगर कुछ बातें करती है तो उसमें अभी मामला सुप्रीम कोर्ट में भी है, इलेक्शन कमीशन की तरफ से आया था। लेकिन इलेक्शन कमीशन ने साफ कहा था कि पीपुल्स रिप्रेजेंटेशन एक्ट जो है 1951 का, उसमें ऐसा कोई प्रावधान नहीं है जो किसी पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज को घोषणा करने से रोकती हो। तो अगर ऐसा नहीं है तो फिर तेजस्वी यादव के भले ही अभी एक भी लोकसभा के में सांसद नहीं है, लेकिन अगर वो 2024 के इलेक्शन में आए हैं तो उनको ये घोषणा करने में कोई दिक्कत नहीं है कि हर बहनों को 1 लाख रुपया देंगे। उनको ये घोषणा करने में कोई दिक्कत नहीं है कि हम ओपीएस लागू कर लेंगे। तो अब सवाल ये है कि उनको ये नहीं कोई पूछ रहा है कि भाई ओपीएस लागू कर लेंगे आप तो कैसे कर लेंगे, ये उनका टेंशन नहीं है, उनको घोषणा करना है। तो 25 गारंटी भी राहुल गांधी की कमोबेश वही है कि वो 5 न्याय 25 गारंटी उनको घोषणा करना है और उन्होंने घोषणा किया है। आज मैं जब देख रहा था कि जो बीजेपी के संकल्प पत्र पे पॉलिटिकल पार्टी का रिएक्शन आ रहे थे डिफरेंट अपोजिशंस के भी और इंडिया गठबंधन के खास करके, तो हर पॉलिटिकल पार्टी कंपैरिजन घोषणा गारंटी के बदले वो संविधान बचाओ, लोकतंत्र बचाओ के नैरेटिव पे जा रहे थे। तो अब सवाल ये है कि अगर आपके गारंटी में इतना दम है, जो आप न्याय पिछली बार भी राहुल गांधी ने एक न्याय योजना लाई थी जिसमें 72,000 रुपया वो मिनिमम आय की गारंटी उन्होंने दी थी। और सवाल ये है कि ये 72,000 मिनिमम गारंटी योजना कितना शानदार इकोनॉमिक फार्मूला था, तो कर्नाटक में आते आते 72,000 का 2,000 क्यों हो गया? जो गारंटी योजना में आप महिलाओं को सिर्फ वो भी आप कैप लगा के 1 करोड़ महिलाओं को आप गृह लक्ष्मी योजना का सुविधा आपने देने की बात कही है, जिसमें कई महिलाओं का अभी भी कंप्लेन है कि उसका रजिस्टर्ड हुआ ही नहीं है, तो उसको आप 2,000 दे रहे हैं। और अगर आप दिल्ली में बैठ के कह रहे हैं कि जैसे ही अगले दिन हमारी सरकार बनेगी और 8,500 रुपया आपके अकाउंट में सीधे पहुंचेगी, 1 लाख रुपया सीधे आपके अकाउंट में साल में आएगा, आपकी गरीबी दूर। तो सवाल ये है कि आप जनता के बीच में इसको एक प्रैक्टिकल रूप में कैसे ले जाएंगे, ये मॉड्यूल आपके पास में नहीं है। तो शायद जनता आप शायद इस बात को मानने के लिए तैयार नहीं है, क्योंकि ये पास भी अगर आपने ओपीएस लेके इलेक्शन हिमाचल में लड़ा और जीता, आपने कर्नाटक में ओपीएस को लेके आए और इलेक्शन जीता, लेकिन ओपीएस ना आपने कर्नाटक में लागू किया, न हिमाचल में लागू किया, और 2024 के मैनिफेस्टो में आपने आपने ओपीएस पे चर्चा ही बंद कर दी। तो रीजनल पार्टी में अगर अखिलेश यादव ओपीएस दे रहे हैं या फिर तेजस्वी यादव ओपीएस दे रहे हैं तो इसका क्या मतलब होता है?
लेकिन सवाल यही उठता है जी, सवाल यही
मैं बताता हूँ
जी
इम्पोर्टेंट चीज बात यह है कि राहुल गांधी यही गारंटी पे नहीं रुकते हैं। जब वो आते हैं सामाजिक न्याय की बात करके, जो कांग्रेस शायद पहली बार इस तरह के मैनिफेस्टो का ये किया होगा, और जब वो आते हैं सामाजिक न्याय में की जाति गणना, तो शायद उनके लिए कर्नाटक, इसी कर्नाटक में उदाहरण है कि 2017 की जाति गणना की रिपोर्ट जो है वो रखे आपने इतने सालों के बाद दूसरी सरकार सिद्धारमैया की आई हुई थी और भारी हिलोहज्जत के बाद उसने कमीशन की रिपोर्ट ली है, लेकिन आज तक उसको आप पब्लिश कराने की स्थिति में नहीं है, क्योंकि आपको डर है कि अगर आप ये जाति समीकरण को लाए तो शायद कर्नाटक में उनके खिलाफ में एक दूसरा माहौल बन सकता है। तो सवाल ये है कि जहां आपका स्टेट है वहां आप इन चीजों का जितनी आबादी उसका उतना हक, ये अगर आप अपने शासित राज्यों में करके दिखाते हैं तो शायद इसका इम्पैक्ट एक नेशन वाइड भी पड़ता है। लेकिन जब आप वहां नहीं दिखाते हैं और दूसरे जगह ये बात करते हैं तो शायद लोग इसको पॉलिटिक्स मानते हैं कि क्यों आप राहुल गांधी जो हर पब्लिक रैलियों में जिसकी जितनी आबादी उतना हक की बात करते थे, और पीएम मोदी ने जैसे ही इसका एक बार वो दिया कि साउथ इंडिया के लोगों का क्या गुनाह है कि जिसकी आबादी उतना हक में कल का पार्लियामेंट की सीटें बढ़ेगी, और साउथ इंडिया ने अगर पॉपुलेशन पे कंट्रोल किया है तो उसका क्या कसूर था कि उस पॉपुलेशन में वो पीछे रह जाए। तो ये चीज अगर आप बिना सोचे समझे अपना नैरेटिव बनाते हैं तो हम शायद ये भूल जाते हैं, नेता शायद ये भूल जाते हैं कि इसका रिपरकशन भी होता है, इसका जवाब भी लोग देने लगते हैं, तब आप अपने चीजों से वापस हो जाते हैं। और कर्नाटक में आप जब इस सामाजिक न्याय की बात करेंगे तो लोग आपको याद दिला देंगे कि आपका सामाजिक न्याय में जो सामाजिक सर्वेक्षण हुआ था, सोशल आपने सेंसस कराया था, उसका क्या हुआ। तो ये सारी चीजें आप देखते हैं तो ये दौर 2013, 14 या 9, 10 का नहीं है, 2024 का दौर है। इस दौर में बहुत चीजें पीछे छूट गई है। ये बदला हुआ भारत है और बदले हुए भारत के लिए आपको एक कोई नया संकल्प लेके आना होगा, नई सियासत लेके आनी होगी, जो नरेंद्र मोदी अभी लोगों के सामने में रखा है। तो ये चीजें शायद अपोजिशन के लिए एक सबसे बड़ी चुनौती है।
बिल्कुल, एक बड़ा अंतर भी यहाँ पर सामने नजर भी आता है, क्योंकि हम देखते हैं कि प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी अपना रिपोर्ट कार्ड भी लेकर सामने आते हैं। ऐसे में अगर हम कांग्रेस की या अन्य विपक्षी दलों की बात करें, वो रिपोर्ट कार्ड में अपने क्या दिखाएंगे, क्योंकि साफ तौर पर हमने देखा 2004 से लेकर 14 तक कितने घोटाले हुए थे।
देखिए गौरव, सवाल ये है, इस बात से कोई इनकार नहीं किया जा सकता, इलेक्शन का टाइम है, इलेक्शन के समय में हर अपोजिशन पार्टीज को हक बनता है कि वो प्राइम मिनिस्टर से सवाल पूछे, हर पब्लिक में वो मीटिंग में उस बात को रखे। लेकिन सवाल ये है कि आपको पूछने में नैरेटिव्स को थोड़ी देर के लिए आपको साइडलाइन रखना पड़ेगा। जब हम अभी सुन रहे
Well, the Prime Minister is currently in Mangaluru. He is accompanied by Captain Brijesh Chauta, who is the candidate for the Dakshina Kannada Lok Sabha constituency. He is BJP's candidate this time around. The Prime Minister is flanked by the BJP candidates for Dakshina Kannada, along with Udupi Chikmagaluru, which will go to polls on April 26th. So the Prime Minister is now rallying support for his BJP candidates. On the left side of the Prime Minister is Captain Brijesh Chauta, who has been nominated as the BJP's Lok Sabha candidate for the upcoming elections. Remember, viewers, just hours back, the Prime Minister was in Mysuru, where he took on the opposition, and he also called out the tukde mindset of the Congress as well over an incident where Lakshman Sawadi was seen asking permission from the AICC chief Mallikarjun Kharge for raising Bharat Mata Ki Jai slogans. Now, hours after his Mysuru blitzkrieg, the Prime Minister is now in Mangaluru. He is holding a mega road show in support of the BJP candidates who are set to contest against the Congress in the Lok Sabha elections on April 26th. Well, it's time for a quick break, but on the other side, we'll get you all the live pictures from PM's Mega Mangaluru Roadshow. Do stay tuned with Republic TV.
QS&T achieved, the world's foremost university rankings organizations have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
In just a decade, India has transformed into a digital powerhouse. From classrooms to clinics, farms to finance, digitalization is revolutionizing every aspect of life. To celebrate the makers and shakers behind Digital India and India's phenomenal digital yatra, Republic Business is delighted to bring its inaugural Republic Business Emerging Tech Awards.
As the political scenario evolves ahead of the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, Katchatheevu prepares for another fiery contest. Katchatheevu constituency holds strategic importance in the social, economic and geopolitical landscape of the region. This time, the Congress has nominated Joy Ram Englang, a prominent local figure, as the candidate for the upcoming elections. In contrast, the Bharatiya Janata Party has nominated Amar Singh as its candidate for the Katchatheevu Lok Sabha constituency. Katchatheevu in Assam is one of the largest constituency in terms of geographical area, encompassing 8.90 lakh voters. The constituency has undergone significant transformation in the last 5 years. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
Good evening and welcome, viewers. The BJP says that the fact that the bombers behind the Bengaluru blast in the Rameshwaram cafe were the fact that they were found in Bengal today proves that Bengal under Mamata Banerjee is a safe haven for terrorists. Big charge to make, and that might not be entirely correct.
Welcome back, viewers. Let's shift our focus on Madhya Pradesh, because speaking at a rally in Hoshangabad, Prime Minister Narendra Modi went all guns blazing at the Congress. He said that the grand old party's manifesto is full of dangerous promises. He said that the frustrated Congress is now making announcements that the party leaders cannot even comprehend. Listen in.
गठबंधन की स्थिति देखिए, वो तय कर नहीं पा रहे हैं कि घोषणा पत्र एक जिम्मेवारी होती है। एक उनके साथी का घोषणा पत्र कहता है कि भारत से परमाणु हथियार खत्म कर देंगे। बताइए भैया, कोई देश ऐसा सोचेगा क्या? परमाणु हथियार आज के युग में भारत को जरूरी है कि नहीं है? भारत की ताकत के लिए, भारत की रक्षा के लिए परमाणु हथियार होना चाहिए कि नहीं होना चाहिए हमारे पास? जब दुश्मनों के पास इतनी ताकत हो और हम ये कह रहे हैं कि हम परमाणु हथियार नष्ट कर देंगे, ये किसकी भलाई के लिए बोल रहे हो भाई? हताश कांग्रेस ऐसी घोषणाएं कर रही है जो खुद कांग्रेस के नेताओं को ही समझ नहीं आ रहा है। कांग्रेस के शाहजादे ने अभी घोषणा की, आप भी सुनकर के हंसोगे। मैं सुनाऊं? जोरों से हंसना पड़ेगा आपको। कांग्रेस के शाहजादे ने घोषणा की, और वो वीडियो भी देखने जैसा है। उन्होंने घोषणा की, एक झटके में देश की गरीबी हटा दूंगा। अब बताओ भाई, हंसी आएगी कि नहीं आएगी? आप हैरान हो गए कि नहीं हो गए? ऐसे लोगों पर कोई भरोसा करेगा क्या? अरे देश पूछ रहा है, आखिर ये शाही जादूगर इतने बरसों तक कहां छुपा था?
In just a decade, India has transformed into a digital powerhouse. From classrooms to clinics, farms to finance, digitalization is revolutionizing every aspect of life. To celebrate the makers and shakers behind Digital India and India's phenomenal digital yatra, Republic Business is delighted to bring its inaugural Republic Business Emerging Tech Awards.
The city of Nizams is excited to witness one of the biggest political clashes. It's BJP versus AIMIM in Hyderabad. BJP's Madhvi Lata, a BJP debutant, is up against AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi, a four-time MP. The battle this time is that of ideologies. A prominent Hindutva figure, she has actively campaigned against regressive practices such as triple talaq and fought for the rights of Muslim women. This is something that Owaisi has time and again challenged. When the triple talaq was scrapped in 2019, Owaisi opposed the centre's move. That is not all. Owaisi also questioned the Citizenship Amendment Act.
बीजेपी ने CAA का अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल कानून बनाया है और रिलीजन की बुनियाद पर बनाया गया है जो राइट टू इक्वालिटी के खिलाफ है और इसीलिए मैंने उस कानून के बिल को पार्लियामेंट में फाड़ा था और हम उस वक्त भी खिलाफ थे, आज भी और कल भी रहेंगे.
Madhvi Lata slammed him over his views.
First, Asaduddin ji needs to explain what is CAA according to him is and what CAA according to the existing central government's definition. Unfortunately, every time Asad ji wanted to manipulate the law, the acts and whatever the central party if it is non-Congress.
As the battle for pearls gets exciting, will it be a 5-time win for Asaduddin Owaisi, or will the lotus bloom in the city of pearls? Bureau Report, Republic TV.
Well, viewers, Congress candidate from Mandi, Vikramaditya Singh, has hit out at actor turned politician Kangana Ranaut on her remarks against Chief Minister Sukhwinder Singh Sukhu, where she said that the government is falling apart, and he also said that Kangana's allegations were unfounded and that she should understand the issues on ground first. Listen in.
मेरा ये निवेदन है कि आरोप प्रति आरोप लगाने से पहले जो है आप अपने आंकड़ों को ढंग से पढ़कर आइए. आप जिस तरीके से ट्यूटर होकर आते हैं और बिना होमवर्क के चुनावी जनसभाओं में जाकर या कार्यकर्ताओं की जनसभाओं में जाकर मुख्यमंत्री जी पे जो आरोप लगा रहे हैं, कम से कम पहले उनकी गंभीरता को समझिए. केवल सुबह उठकर जो आपको कागज़ पकड़ा देते हैं आपके मीडिया के सहयोगी या आपके साथी और आप उसको वहाँ पे जाकर पढ़ देती हैं, ये चीज़ सही नहीं है. कम से कम पहले उन मुद्दों को समझे कि वो पैसा आया क्यों है, क्यों नहीं आया है, क्या उसके कारण है. मैं ये कह देना चाहता हूँ कि ये हिंदुत्व का पाठ और ये हिंदू विरोधी होने की बातें, इससे भारतीय जनता पार्टी की और उनकी प्रत्याशी की दाल जो है वो यहाँ पे गलने वाली नहीं है. जितने बड़े वो हिंदू हैं उससे बड़े हिंदू हम हैं.
QS&T achieved. The world's foremost university rankings organizations have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
In just a decade, India has transformed into a digital powerhouse. From classrooms to clinics, farms to finance, digitalization is revolutionizing every aspect of life. To celebrate the makers and shakers behind Digital India and India's phenomenal digital yatra, Republic Business is delighted to bring its inaugural Republic Business Emerging Tech Award.
Good evening and welcome, viewers. The BJP says that the fact that the bombers behind the Bengaluru blast in the Rameshwaram cafe were the fact that they were found in Bengal today proves that Bengal under Mamata Banerjee is a safe haven for terrorists. Big charge to make, and that might not be entirely correct. But will Mamata Banerjee be bold enough to accept that Islamist terrorism is a threat to the entire world and to India? Would secularities like Mamata Banerjee and the Vadra Congress government in Karnataka both accept that it was a terrible mistake to downplay the Rameshwaram cafe blast as a result of a possible feud between business rivals, rather than what it was, a terrorist incident, a terrorist attack? Would Mamata Banerjee and secularities and pseudo-secularities like the Congress and all these other secularities in the India alliance
Dhanyavad. Ma'am, the BJP's manifesto comes out, as you've called it, the Sankalp Patra. You were a part of it. Rajnath Singh was chairing this committee.
Yes.
Ma'am, there are few points which are coming out of it. Right from One Nation, One Poll, people say BJP has already said that it is coming. UCC, it's okay. But the bigger parts are free electricity for the poor and how many people will be getting free electricity. The Ayushman scheme, the Lakpati Didis, the numbers is 3 crores. 10 crore farmers to benefit from PM Kisan Samman Nidhi. 3 crore more houses for the poor. These are numbers which are mentioned in your Sankalp Patra. The opposition is saying, do we have the budget to fulfill this? As the finance minister of the country, ma'am, I would want to ask you.
Thank you, Aishwarya, for having this discussion on our manifesto and also highlighting some of the Modi ki guarantee.
Ma'am.
Some numbers are mentioned also, and I would like to remind you that anything that which is in our Sankalp Patra will be fulfilled. It has always been the case. BJP's manifesto is taken very seriously. So the promises given in the manifesto are taken up seriously. Much thought goes into it. Much before we put it out, and then we speak about it. So yes, we are conscious of the numbers that we've given there, and we will fulfill them.
3 crore more houses, bullet train corridor in the northeast, expanding the network of industry to 4.0. The opposition says all of these are promises which were made in Modi 2.0. ये तो 2019 में ही वादे कर दिए थे. तो नया क्या है? What's new in this? That's because the minute this manifesto was released by the Honorable Prime Minister, you had a series of reactions, ma'am. लगातार reaction आने लग गए विपक्ष के नेताओं के. कई आपके बहुत अच्छे जिसे कहते हैं वेल विशर्स हैं, वो कहते हैं इसमें नया क्या दिया है निर्मला जी ने, राजनाथ जी ने, ये तो सब पुराना है.
नहीं, ये तो बिना पढ़े, बिना समझे मोदी की गारंटी मैनिफेस्टो में जो लिखा है उसको बिना समझे कमेंट्स दे रहे हैं. We have very clearly said India's industry will move to 4.0 phase on the back of several steps that have been taken in the years between 2019 and 24, such as giving emphasis for artificial intelligence, setting up new centers of excellence, such as making sure the 6G capability is brought in India and it'll be completely indigenous. 5G being successfully rolled out in this country. Also looking at the Anusandhan Kosh that we have promised with 1 lakh crores, kept as corpus so that it can be used by let's say special purpose vehicle which will promote a lot of innovation which have high risks. So when the government is taking these measures, industry will stand to benefit, and therefore Industry 4.0 will be realized. We will be using a lot of artificial intelligence. We will be using a lot of tools which can be generated from something similar to the ChatGPT, the generative AI, and so on. So government has invested in it. We've created centers of excellence. So it will be easy for the industry to transition into Industry 4.0. Because we have done that work, the complete transition of industry into 4.0 is now possible. So, if they don't understand that these are work continuing to give that advantage to the Indian industry, and very easily and lazily throw this allegation that all this is already there. Sorry, please understand the way in which this is progressing.
मैम इसमें एक चीज और मेंशन हुआ है. You also mentioned in your Sankalp Patra zero electricity bill. And it goes on to say that we will provide free electricity to the poor households under the PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. And the opposition, led by the Aam Aadmi Party, is saying this is what we had promised. This is what we had promised, and BJP has just picked it up and saying that हमने भी तो बोला था कि free bijli देंगे. That's a different issue. They moved from free bijli to free alcohol. But BJP is also promising. And they are saying what Prime Minister used to call freebie politics. No. BJP is also doing the same. Ma'am.
No, I wish you understand this.
Please explain.
It is not freebie. It is not a freebie. I want to just take a minute to explain. This was even put in the vote on account budget which was presented on 1st February 2024. The vote on account budget specifically spoke on this particular scheme, which is where individuals can have rooftop solar panels established, and for which there will be assistance given through the banks and so on, and the government will also support the scheme. There, when they invest the money and have that rooftop on the top with great big subsidy given by the center and from some states which also have the subsidy. So Aishwarya, it is without understanding what has been said there to very quickly jump into the fray and say it is a freebie. Certainly Prime Minister Modi does not believe in freebie, and this scheme is very well designed in such a way that through some subsidy, viability gap funding and bank assistance, people will be allowed and also enabled to establish rooftop solar panels. And once they do that, up to 300 units of free power can be given to them, and they will generate enough power, and the surplus power over and above their utilization, after they consume over and above what they consume, the power can be linked to the grids, and thereby they can also earn money out of it. So when you look at this free power scheme, right, it is a very beautifully tailored scheme wherein eventually really you will get free power, but you're also producing power to be able to sell it onto the grid. So in a way, the country's transition towards renewable energy will be with people's participation, and the people will benefit out of getting free power as much as they produce more power to sell onto the grids.
Understood, ma'am. Just दो और सवाल.
There is a difference therefore.
Right. सिर्फ दो और सवाल. I know you're very tight on time, ma'am. You have a very tight schedule today. But ma'am, महिलाओं के लिए, किसानों के लिए, इस घोषणा पत्र में महिलाओं को लेके भी बहुत पर्टिकुलर स्कीम्स रखी गई हैं. इनमें किसानों को लेके भी कहा गया है कि जो वी आर प्रोवाइडिंग एनुअल फाइनेंशियल असिस्टेंस ऑफ ₹6,000 अंडर द पीएम किसान सम्मान योजना. तो वहां जो आयुष्मान scheme for the senior citizen, we will expand the Ayushman Bharat Yojana to cover senior citizens and provide them access to free and quality health care. Ma'am, the opposition is saying this is just not possible. We are a country of 140 crores. Prime Minister Modi is being ambitious, yes, but can he really do this? As the finance minister of the country, ma'am, I'm asking you today that all these promises at large, can they be fulfilled?
Yes. First of all, I'm glad opposition is saying that there are particular specific items which is now including more and more sections of our society. We very clearly have placed the pillars, the 4 pillars, the Garib, the Annadata, the Nari and the Yuva as the 4 pillars, which will include so many sections, meaning so many different castes and everybody else. So nobody is really going to be ignored or bypassed. But even as we say that, we have made sure that we are including specific sections which need that kind of extra attention. We are reassuring that the Kisan Samman Nidhi will continue. वो जारी रहेगा. किसान के लिए सम्मान निधि जो प्रधानमंत्री जी सालाना 6,000 देते हैं वो जारी रहेगा. गरीब कल्याण अन्न योजना जारी रहेगा, जिससे गरीब को मुफ्त दान मिलता है, चावल मिलता है, गेहूं मिलता है, उसमें अन्न मिलता है, इसीलिए वो भी 5 साल के लिए वो कंटिन्यू होगा, जारी होगा. इसके अलावा ये बात भी हम रख रहे हैं कि सीनियर सिटीजन्स को आयुष्मान भारत का मतलब 70 इयर्स एंड अबव सिटीजन्स को उसमें we are not going to be looking for only those below the poverty level, those who are in lower middle income bracket. We're not looking at that. Right. We are saying everybody at 70 and above will get covered under the Ayushman Bharat scheme, which means senior citizens every year 4 or 5 lakh of rupees will get treatment paperless and cashless. So this is something which is going to be an addition onto the existing Ayushman Bharat. Similarly, Lakpati Didi, which has had great resonance in the villages. I've just been to Tamil Nadu in some of the rural areas. Women are so happy. You can see that glimmer in their eyes saying, never before have we had this kind of a treatment given to us. Women being chosen by the SHG groups. And they are being given all kinds of training so that they can earn their own living. A lakh of rupees is in the rural India some recognized amount for people to be assured that this government is taking care of them.
And just one last question, ma'am. I end by saying you also mentioned one nation, one poll, one nation, one election in your manifesto, in your Sankalp Patra. And going by the track record of the Modi government of which you've been a part at very serious senior levels, Modi 1.0, 2.0, people know. If it's there in the Ghoshna Patra, in the Sankalp Patra, it means it's going to be delivered. So should we see 2029 as a year when we will have one nation, one poll, ma'am?
Aishwarya, I just want to put 2 things from manifestos of earlier era of BJP.
Please.
It was in Palampur that we had said Article 370 will be removed. You saw that happening.
Yes.
So even if it's a long drawn for whatever reason, Sri Ram Mandir, I'm sorry, Ram Mandir will be built. That's been fulfilled. So even if it is a long drawn process because of either going to the courts or the system takes its own time in some cases, we fulfill the promise given even if it was some years ago. Similarly, the one big signature of this Prime Minister Modi's government has been we lay the foundation, we also inaugurate it. So we do something, we say something in the manifesto, we bring that project in and we fully also implement it. So you can be sure that anything said in the manifesto is something which we take up in earnestness right immediately after the government gets formed, and we in all probability within the 5 years fulfill it. So in that category comes this as well.
Absolutely. So that was the finance minister of the country. देश की वित्त मंत्री निर्मला सीतारमण. बहुत-बहुत धन्यवाद आपका रिपब्लिक मीडिया नेटवर्क से बात करने के लिए. Thank you so much for taking out time for speaking to the public. Thank you, ma'am. Namaskar.
आक्रमण करते थे ना, जब तक मंदिर तोड़ते नहीं उनको संतोष नहीं होता था, वैसे ही सावन के महीने में वीडियो दिखाकर वो देश के लोगों को चिढ़ाना चाहते हैं. अब इस मंशा से वीडियो दिखा दिखा करके इसको खुश करने का खेल कर रहे हो। ये इनकी मुगलिया सोच है, लेकिन ये लोग नहीं जानते जनता जब जवाब देती है तो बड़े बड़े शाही खानदार के युवराजों को बेदखल होना पड़ता है।
BJP released its party manifesto called Sankalp Patra in the morning, with Prime Minister leading the event and making his address where he has narrated how the Sankalp Patra contributes to the Modi government's governance, part of which was, of course, foreign policy. And to discuss that, we are joined in by India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar. He's live with us, in fact. And very good afternoon to you, sir. And the first thing I would want to ask from the manifesto, as relevant to your ministry, is the mention of the word Vishwa Bandhu in the document. Now, we have been hearing about India as a Vishwa Mitra in the backdrop of the pandemic. Now it says Vishwa Bandhu. Is this just a change of semantics, or there is more thought that has gone into this choice of words, sir? Because Mitra is friend, Bandhu is brother. Does it make it as India becoming intense in its engagements with the rest of the world?
Well, I think it's a very good question, but before I do that, through you and your channel, let me convey my good wishes to everybody in India who's marking the new year in different parts of India. So, the difference between Bandhu and Mitra. Look, what happened during COVID and what happened after COVID during Ukraine, in all these operations, in the difficulties which different countries went through, they found India standing by them. They found India standing by them when other countries with more resources did not stand by them. So what has happened is, it has today generated a feeling for us in the world. And this feeling is particularly intense in the global south, but not restricted to the global south. So I think more countries today feel closer to us. We are more trusted. We are trusted emotionally. We are trusted even in technology. We are trusted economically, politically. So I think there was a good reason why we kind of shifted gear in a sense and moved it to Vishwa Bandhu.
Right. So also the manifesto talks about through the Ministry of External Affairs, obviously India setting up Thiruvalluvar centers around the world, obviously. So the objective is that the world's most ancient language gets some visibility around the world. Also, the manifesto talks about India certifying yoga teachers in some ways, or starting some kind of certification. So in a sense, ownership of India's heritage and legacy. Taken together, the Vishwa Bandhu idea in more intense engagement, things like Thiruvalluvar centers, how is it going to be done in terms of over the next 5 years, Ministry of External Affairs getting more muscle, more strength? Are we going to see more missions being set up, the strength of the diplomatic corps being increased, and India becoming more visible around the world through that?
Short answer is yes, all of that. I think the longer answer would be, if you take the Thiruvalluvar centers, he is regarded as an epitome of wisdom, of sagacity, of knowledge. PM actually spoke at the BJP headquarters specifically also about promoting classical languages, and he mentioned specifically Tamil as the oldest of the languages in the country, how we should do more to promote languages across the world. Definitely when it comes to yoga and it comes to Ayurveda, it's important that we as the country of origin, today we are able to actually authenticate, validate and promote these practices, because these practices are catching on. And in fact, by the way, the manifesto also refers to how we would promote the legacy of Sri Ram and how we would actually do programs to propagate Ramayana in different parts of the world. So I think it's a holistic cultural vision, because look, at the end of the day, we are a civilizational power. People respect us because we are different. We represent thousands of years of history. So we today, from a time when people in power were either in denial or distancing themselves from our roots, from our civilization, from our faiths, from our beliefs, we are proud of it. We are proud of it. We believe this is our identity. We believe that this is actually a brand of India which the world respects. And I can tell you that is exactly the change that we have seen in the last 10 years. The last 10 years, the world has respected India more because India is more Bharat.
Right, sir. And when we're talking about BJP's manifesto, we have had manifestos coming in from the opposition space, particularly the Congress party, the CPM, and they are talking some specifics about India's China policy, India's Pakistan policy. In the case of CPM, even our nuclear weapons policy, sir. While the BJP manifesto is sort of silent, does not get into specifics, so there is no attempt being made to respond to the opposition space in terms of those issues. Yesterday, for example, the Congress party has said that on China there seems to be some kind of Modi guarantee that the government would not take on the Chinese in the manner that they thought it should have. So is it a deliberate strategic silence so that the government gets that kind of a strategic space to maneuver, or there's something more to it?
Well, first of all, you are talking of comments from a party which is responsible for the loss of 38,000 square kilometers of our territory to China, and which is responsible for the fact that POK is today under the occupation of Pakistan. So who does what? I think the record is very, very clear, and I don't even want to talk about the communist manifesto, because frankly, as a nationalist, I am acutely uncomfortable, and I'm being very polite, acutely uncomfortable with what they have put forward. I cannot imagine any nationalist Indian would say these things. But put that aside. What I am saying, we are saying today, we are today talking about zero tolerance on terrorism. Now, what does zero tolerance of terrorism mean? It means Pakistan, right? But the Congress party doesn't think so, because the Congress party thinks Pakistan and terrorism nothing to do with each other. We are today talking about theaterization. We are today talking about building border infrastructure. Why are we talking border infrastructure? Because border infrastructure primarily relates to China. But the Congress party doesn't think it relates to China because they did nothing on the border. So my friend, we have everything to do with Pakistan, everything to do with China, and we have beyond. But we are not this very superficial posing by scoring debating points, which are, by the way, completely at odds with their own record of governance. So if you look today at maritime, at cyber, at making India a space power, all these things are there in our manifesto. We are thinking big. We will implement big. We will implement seriously. So I think we have an ambition today of making India into a leading power. And when we announced that, the opposition said that we are fantasizing. So look, bottom line, our manifesto is serious. What you see is what you get. Yeah, sure.
Is it serious?
Sure.
My last question, sir, before I let you go. And you have spoken with a lot of clarity on some aspects which people would have thought was silent in the manifesto. My last question to you, sir, when you say India is Vishwa Bandhu, how do we, for example, approach the ongoing crisis in Middle East from that vantage, where we can perhaps counsel both the sides, that statement actually, that position actually getting reflected in the statement of MEA today, but how can we actually make it sure that escalation does not happen?
Well, look, when we took a position on the Ukraine conflict, a lot of people questioned it. Today, those very same countries, many of them, are coming around to the recognition that what we were advocating was actually very wise. Right now, I can tell you there are 200 countries in the world, and many of them, probably all of them in some form or the other, would be affected, directly affected, if this crisis, if the violence in the Middle East, in the Gulf, in West Asia gets worse. We speak for a majority of countries in the world who say, look, calm it down, don't escalate matters, because, what happened yesterday night was an escalatory development. So we today believe that there should be calming down of this, that, a lot of us actually must come together to see how there is a better way of dealing with it than by recourse to violence.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for that perspective and clarity with which you have spoken on the manifesto and, of course, the ongoing situation in the Middle East.
सपा, बसपा, कांग्रेस, ये तीनों लोग मंदिर का विरोध करते रहे। मोदी जी ने बना भी दिया, प्राण प्रतिष्ठा भी कर दिया, और आगे मैं बताना चाहता हूँ, इनको निमंत्रण भेजा गया 22 जनवरी का, वो प्राण प्रतिष्ठा में सम्मिलित भी नहीं हुए, क्योंकि उनको अपनी वोट बैंक का डर लगता है, अपनी वोट बैंक का डर लगता है।
In just a decade, India has transformed into a digital powerhouse. From classrooms to clinics, farms to finance, digitalization is revolutionizing every aspect of life. To celebrate the makers and shakers behind Digital India and India's phenomenal digital yatra, Republic Business is delighted to bring its inaugural Republic Business Emerging Tech Awards.
As the political scenario evolves ahead of the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, Katchatheevu prepares for another fiery contest. Katchatheevu constituency holds strategic importance in the social, economic and geopolitical landscape of the region. This time, the Congress has nominated Joy Ram Englang, a prominent local figure, as the candidate for the upcoming elections. In contrast, the Bharatiya Janata Party has nominated Amar Singh as its candidate for the Katchatheevu Lok Sabha constituency. Katchatheevu in Assam is one of the largest constituency in terms of geographical area, encompassing 8.90 lakh voters. The constituency has undergone significant transformation in the last 5 years. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
Most popular cafes in Bengaluru on the 1st of March. India's top anti-terror agency NIA was roped in to lead the hunt for the terrorists who had orchestrated the attack. And now within 45 days, the agency has busted the vicious ISIS terror nexus and the terrorist trio responsible for the devastation. Terrorist Musawir Hussain Shazib, who had placed the bomb at the cafe, and Abdul Mateen Taha, the mastermind of the blast, were arrested from Bengal. As per sources, the two men had been living in West Bengal for 3 weeks, checking into small
और रेल मंत्री अश्विनी वैष्णव जी हमारे साथ है, लाइव अभी जुड़े हुए हैं। वैष्णव जी, अभी मैनिफेस्टो का मुख्य बात क्या है? हमने सुना जो प्रधानमंत्री आज सुबह बात किए थे, हमने पूरा सुना। बीजेपी का क्या मैसेज है, क्या मैसेज लेके जा रहे हैं आप इस चुनाव में?
पिछले 10 वर्षों में प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने जो एक प्रामाणिकता के साथ काम किया है, वो काम आज सबके सामने है। इस काम को लेके जन जन के पास हम जा रहे हैं और साथ में अगले 25 वर्षों का विजन लेके जा रहे हैं। उस अगले 25 वर्षों में जो काम होगा, that work will define basically the future of our country. So it's very important to make sure that each and everything that we do in this period is thought through, is clearly well laid out, और अगले 5 साल में उस विकसित भारत बनाने का फाउंडेशन रहेगा। इसीलिए बहुत ध्यान से, बहुत मेटिकुलसली हर सोशल ग्रुप और हर सेक्टर का इस संकल्प पत्र में मेंशन है। There are 10 social groups about which this manifesto mentions. I'll read out the 10 sections. गरीब परिवार, मध्यम वर्ग परिवार, नारी शक्ति, युवा, वरिष्ठ नागरिक, किसान, मत्स्य पालक, श्रमिक, टैक्सी ड्राइवर, ऑटो चालक, ट्रक ड्राइवर, घर में काम करने वाले, MSME, छोटे व्यापारी, विश्वकर्मा और वंचित वर्ग. Each and every section of the society has been covered in this manifesto. Each and every sector of the economy and our life, cultural and social life, has been addressed in this संकल्प पत्र.
आप 5 साल की बात कर रहे थे और 25 साल की immediate vision है, 5 years first, 25 years, and the Prime Minister at some point spoke about the next 100 years and the next 1000 years. Now, focus UCC पे भी था, यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड का मेंशन है, वैष्णव जी, वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन का भी एक बड़ा मेंशन है, और गरीब कल्याण पे भी फोकस है. क्या, हाउ वुड यू डिस्क्राइब दिस मैनिफेस्टो? इज इट अ मैनिफेस्टो विद अ विजन और इज इट अ मैनिफेस्टो focused on India's poor?
This is a manifesto which is basically the blueprint for next 5 years. This is an action plan with a vision towards 2047. See what Prime Minister very clearly said, and he believes in this, that short-termism will not help. We have to make sure that we are thinking ahead. We are looking at what future do we want for our country, and we have to lay those foundations. We have to work towards that future today. So when he said, he made it very clear that in the next 25 years, the work that we do will define the future of our next many generations. So it's very important to focus on this 25 years. That is the Amrit Kal. This is the period in which we will be laying the foundation which will keep serving us for 1000 years. So this manifesto lays out that foundation, which the work which we will do in the next 5 years.
वैष्णव जी, क्या ये कंटिन्यूटी वाला मैनिफेस्टो है? Did you focus on continuity? Does BJP focus on continuity? Because you're taking forward जो 10 साल में हुआ है, आप उसको आगे ले रहे हैं. क्या ये हैट्रिक वाला मैनिफेस्टो है? Because a lot of mentions in each of the 10 sectors that you spoke of speak of taking forward what you've already done, right? Or how do you look at the kind of response that's coming in when you have the opposition? Opposition का न्यूज कॉन्फ्रेंस चला था ठीक प्रधानमंत्री बात करने के बाद, और उसको जुमला मैनिफेस्टो बुलाया था उन्होंने, जुमला मैनिफेस्टो. हाउ डू यू रेस्पॉन्ड टू दैट?
जुमले तो कांग्रेस देती थी, गरीबी हटाओ का जुमला देती थी कांग्रेस, और अभी भी मेरे ख्याल से राहुल गांधी जी ने कुछ ही समय पहले कहा है कि एक झटके से गरीबी हटा देंगे. तो ये जुमले देना कांग्रेस का नेचर है. मोदी जी ने काम करके दिखाया है, मोदी जी ने काम जनता के सामने रखा है, मोदी जी ने आगे का विजन जनता के सामने रखा है. तो जुमले तो कांग्रेस की नेचर है, तो वो बोलेंगे जुमला. उन्होंने तो पढ़ा ही नहीं होगा मैनिफेस्टो, उन्होंने तो देखा ही नहीं होगा, उनके किसी कंसल्टेंट ने आके बता दिया होगा, वो बोल दिया होगा. ऐसा तो कांग्रेस का नेचर है. 60 साल की सरकार रही उनकी. 60 साल में से एक ऐसा देश उभर के आ सकता था जो विश्व में आज समकक्ष खड़ा होता, लेकिन क्या किया कांग्रेस ने 60 साल में?
हाँ जी
निरंजन जी, अगर आप केवल एक पॉइंट पे देखो, 2004 में जब श्रद्धेय अटल जी ने जिम्मेदारी दी थी, तब भारत की दुनिया में पोजीशन 11वें रैंक पे थी. 2014 यानी 10 साल की यूपीए सरकार, कांग्रेस की सरकार थी प्रैक्टिकली. 2004 से 2014 के 10 वर्षों में 11वें स्थान से 11वें पे ही रहे भाई. यानी 2004 से 2014 का पीरियड पूरा वेस्ट हुआ. मोदी जी ने 2014 में जिम्मेदारी लेने के बाद में भारत को 11वें स्थान से 5वीं बड़ी आर्थिक शक्ति बनाया। आप ये सोचो 5वीं बड़ी आर्थिक ताकत बनने पर कितना काम हो पा रहा है। हाईवे बन रहे हैं, रेलवे बन रहा है, गरीबों को उनकी जीवन की बड़ी सुविधाएं मिल रही है, मिडिल क्लास परिवारों के लिए नए रोजगार बन रहे हैं, नए एम्स खुल रहे हैं, नए आईआईटी खुले। तो जब तीसरी बड़ी आर्थिक शक्ति बनेगा कितने और काम हो सकेंगे। ये मोदी जी का काम है जो स्पष्ट दिखाई दे रहा है।
वैष्णव जी, आपकी मैनिफेस्टो और कांग्रेस की मैनिफेस्टो, आप माने बीजेपी की मैनिफेस्टो और कांग्रेस की मैनिफेस्टो में फर्क क्या है आपकी नजर में?
देखिए, कांग्रेस के मैनिफेस्टो में कुछ भी क्लियर रोड मैप नहीं है कहीं पर भी। दूसरा, कांग्रेस के मैनिफेस्टो में केवल रिलीजन के बेसिस पे देश को पीछे ले जाने का काम है। भारतीय जनता पार्टी के संकल्प पत्र में, मोदी की गारंटी में हर वर्ग, सोसाइटी का हर ग्रुप, हर सामाजिक वर्ग और देश का हर सेक्टर, इसके लिए क्लियर एक रोड मैप है। भारतीय जनता पार्टी शुरू से भारत के समरस, एक समावेशी, एक इंक्लूसिव डेवलपमेंट पे विश्वास करती आई है और उस इंक्लूसिव डेवलपमेंट में सबके लिए स्थान है। उस इंक्लूसिव डेवलपमेंट का